Okay, good morning. How many are we in the room? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Doc.
Yes po, Doc.
Okay, so we'll start now. It's already 8 o'clock, so we'll start with our lecture. So for today, we're going to have two topics. These are antidepressants and the antipsychotics. First, we'll discuss the antidepressants. Please tell me if I'm clear or not, okay? Now, the objectives of these lectures are the following. First, you have to understand the history. First, you have to understand the pathophysiology of depression, and then the natural history of depression with or without treatment, the effects on neurotransmitter receptor effector response. You have to describe the different drugs based on their mechanism of action. Teka lang ha. Parang ayaw gumalaw ng ng PowerPoint ko. Ayan. How they affect the symptoms of this depression, describe the adverse effects, and the outstanding pharmacokinetic characteristics of the drug, and possible drug-drug interaction. Okay? So, can you identify these celebrities on the screen? So, all these famous celebrities suffered from depression, and as you can see, one of them had one of them died, di ba? So somebody here committed suicide because of depression. So dahil ba sa hindi siya nagagamot? Pwede, di ba, no? So what is depression? So sa panahon ngayon ng quarantine, marami bang nade-depress? So marami siguro, no? Yung hindi sanay, yung hindi sanay sa loob ng bahay. Pero one thing is, if you're at home, marami naman kayong magiging help. So what is depression? How is it different from sadness or just the feeling of being sad? Now, depression is an illness. So it affects how a person would behave, would feel and think, and it is persistent. Okay? It is persistent. Primarily, that is the major difference of depression with the feeling of sadness. Depression is more of persistent and it is lingering. Okay, so it is a chronic illness and would require long-term treatment. So remember that each one of us would suffer from, experience sadness, not necessarily depression. Although most of the time people would say, I feel depressed, when they were just merely meaning that they just feel sad. Now, being sad is a part of living and it is short-lived, while depression is a medical illness and it is longer lasting. So for you to say that you're suffering from depression, the manifestations should be at least a minimum of 2 weeks. And what are the manifestations? So yan, nakikita niyo yung mga pictures dyan. Changes in mood that become long-lasting and debilitating. Hindi ka na maka-function. So you have the unimpaired ability to sustain any meaningful relationship or any responsibilities. So the person would feel sad, stressed, unmotivated, excessively tired, and there is loss of interest in one's pleasurable activity, and that is what we call as anhedonia. Okay? So nakikita niyo ba yung sarili niyo dyan ngayon? So I hope hindi naman. Sana naman hindi, ano? Okay. So this is the criteria for major depressive disorder and persistent depressive disorder. These are depressed mood, loss of interest or pleasure, what you call anhedonia. There's a change in weight or appetite, insomnia or hypersomnia, psychomotor retardation or agitation, loss of energy or fatigue, worthlessness or guilt, impaired concentration or indecisiveness, and there is the thought of death or suicide. So for you to diagnose a patient as having depression, there should be at least 5 of these manifestations. Plus, of course, the duration of these symptoms, at least 2 weeks. It's so weird talking over the computer. Hindi ako sanay. Okay. So, these are the... Andiyan pa ba kayo?
Yes,
Andiyan pa
Doc.
kayo na...
Yes po.
Yes, Doc.
Okay.
Opo.
It's so weird. Well, what are the risk
Yes po.
factors for major depression? So, sino-sino ang at risk? So, women daw are more common. Kasi depression can also be affected by our hormone. And then age, mostly between the ages of 20 to 40 years old. So, hindi na ako kasama doon. Ayun na lang. So, family history. It is, so for those with close family members who have depression, the risk is 1.5 to 3 times higher than the general population. How about marital status? You can see it's more common among separated and divorced individuals. So take note, it has lower rates in married males but higher rates in married females. So hindi nakabubuti sa mga babae na mag-asawa, pero nakabubuti
Yes
sa mga
po.
lalaki. Oo, kasi sa mga lalaki, ang depression, ang kasal, ang mga lalaking may asawa has lesser risk for depression. So good for them. Pero sinong pakakasalan nila kung ayaw naman natin sa kanila, di ba? Okay, so hahanap na lang. How about postpartum? So it's higher in women who had just delivered 6 months after the delivery. So kaya nga mas higher ang risk sa babae. Bukod doon sa hormone, tayo yung nanganganak. And of course, other risk factors, negative life events, and early parental death. These are all contributory. So as to the relationship of suicide and major depression, there is what you call the rule of 7. So sabi nila, 1 out of 7 with depressive illness will ultimately commit suicide. Pero I think this is higher now. 70% of suicides have depressive illness. 70% of suicides, or those people who commit suicide, see their primary care physician within 6 weeks. Okay? And suicide is the 7th leading cause of death in the United States upon the making of this slide. But currently, I think it's already number 3 or nasa top 5 yan ng causes of mortality around the world. And it is said that in 2023 or 2025, it could be the top cause of death globally. So, baka gusto nyong maging psychiatrist in the end, marami kayo magiging pasyente. Pero make sure na ikaw mismo ay hindi depressed. Okay? So, this is a natural history of untreated depression. Okay? So, a person with depression may have the manifestations for 6 to 24 months, and some of them may recover or may go into remission spontaneously even without treatment. Now, if they are treated, the manifestations may improve within 8 weeks. Okay? So, pagka ginamot mo, hindi naman agad-agad magiging masaya na yan kinabukasan. So, aabot pa ng mga 8 weeks para talagang masabi mo na nagre-respond sila sa treatment. Okay? Although, of course, some manifestations may improve. Okay? Ibig sabihin, pwedeng mawala after about 2 weeks or 3 weeks. No? So, 67% will respond after 8 weeks and 33% will not respond. So, ano kaya dahilan? Bakit hindi sila nagre-respond? So, we will see that later as we go into the the pathophysiology of, or the hypothesis for the pathophysiology of depression. So, when you say that an individual is in remission, the patient should have no manifestations, okay, continuously for 4 to 9 months. And then you can say that the patient is well or has recovered if the manifestations disappear continuously for a year or more. However, there are individuals who go into relapse or have recurrence of the disease. We say relapse if the manifestation recur within 4 to 9 months after patient has apparently improved manifestation. And you can say recurrence if the individual has recovered and then had another episode again. Okay? So, what are the risk factors for recurrent episodes? Dati pa, nagkakaroon na siya. Hindi siya nakakaroon ng incomplete, they have incomplete recoveries, severe manifestations, and they are bipolar or psychotic features. So, let's go now to the pathophysiology of depression. So, let us understand bakit sila nagkakaroon ng depression. So, the most commonly or known hypothesis for depression is what you call the monoamine hypothesis. So based on this hypothesis, people develop depression because there is deficiency of monoamine neurotransmitters, specifically norepinephrine and serotonin. So kulang ng norepi, kulang ng serotonin. So as you can see in this picture, on the left side is the normal brain. So you see there the complete component of a good neurotransmission. So you have there the presynaptic neuron, then you have the postsynaptic neuron. You can see there the neurotransmitters, those in pink, and the receptors at the postsynaptic end, which is in blue. Okay. And then you also have there, you can see the monoamine reuptake pump. Then you also have there the enzymes that degrade the neurotransmitters. In the depressed state, as you can see, based on this hypothesis, the neurotransmitters are lacking. But, as you can see, they have receptors, you have the reuptake pump, you still have the enzyme. What is lacking? Only the neurotransmitters. Okay? Now, the second hypothesis is this, that the abnormality is not in the neurotransmitters, but in the receptors. So, based dito, maaring normal ang mga neurotransmitters mo, ang level ng serotonin mo, level ng norepinephrine, normal. Pero, walang magre-receive ng transmission kasi may problema ang receptors. So, parang nagkakaroon ng pseudo-deficiency. And then, meron pang hypothesis of gene expression. Okay? Dito, based dito, the receptor and the neurotransmitters are normal. So, normal level ng neurotransmitters, chinek mo receptor, okay naman. Pero ang problem na is abnormal signal transduction. I hope you still remember your pharmacodynamics. That there are receptors that need secondary messengers for the signal to be transduced intracellularly. Naalala niyo pa yun? Yun yung mahabang-mahaba, di ba, sa loob. So, the neurotransmitter will attach the receptor and inside the cell, okay, this will create messages to different enzymes, di ba? And then, so meron kang tinatawag na second messenger system. Dito sa muna hypothesis of gene expression, ang problema ay yung second messenger system that ultimately control gene regulation. So, nagkakaroon ng abnormal gene expression. So, pag sinabi mong abnormal yung genes, nagkakaroon ng it creates now abnormal proteins in the brain. So, hindi ngayon siya nagiging kaya hindi nagiging normal, no? Yung transmission ng impulse from the presynaptic neuron to the postsynaptic neuron. Remember, the neurotransmitters is like a language. Okay? This is how the different neurons in our brain talk to one another. So kung halimbawang noradrenergic neuron, ang language niya ay through norepinephrine, which will be received by the receptor. So naalala niyo ba receptor ng norepinephrine? Sana hindi nawala, no? So sa norepinephrine, ano ang mga receptors natin? We have alpha receptors. We have beta adrenergic receptors. Sabi natin sa sympathetics, ano ang sabi? Norepinephrine activates all adrenergic receptors except what? Hello, are you there? Anong adrenergic receptor lang ang hindi kayang i-activate ng norepinephrine? Yun ay beta 2, di ba? Naalala nyo? Kaya nga norepinephrine cannot be used as an alternative to epinephrine in case of anaphylaxis kasi wala siyang beta 2 effect. Okay? So far we're good? Alright. So, based on monoamine hypothesis of gene expression, there is also what you call the pseudomonoamine deficiency. Para rin yung pag ang problema mo receptor, problema mo yung secondary messenger, parang it manifests as walang transmission of impulse. Kasi hindi na i-interpret yung message na tinansmit ng neurotransmitter. Okay? Now also, because there is abnormal gene expression, nagkakaroon din ng abnormal expression of what you call the brain-derived neurotrophic factor or what you call BDNF. And what is this all about? BDNF, okay? BDNF is necessary for the survival of the neuron. Okay? It makes the connectivity of the neuron more enhanced. In the absence of BDNF, the neurons ultimately die, and they die an early death. Ayun, no? Nakita nyo dun sa left side. So, namamatay ka agad yung neurons. Okay? So, remember, again, BDNF sustains the viability of the neuron, and stress causes repression of the gene for the expression of BDNF. So, gusto nyo pa bang ma-stress? Bababa ang BDNF nyo. Mamatay ang neurons nyo. Hindi lang kayo magiging sad. Ang cognitive function, bababa din. Okay? Atrophy and apoptosis of vulnerable neurons will occur. And so, patient will have more episodes of depression and they will have ultimately lesser response to the medications. Kaya sinasabi na hindi lahat ng depressed individuals would respond to the medication. Ito yung dahilan. Okay? Pagkakonti na yung BDNF at ang problema ay sa secondary messenger system, they are the ones who ultimately develop several episodes of depression at sila yung unlikely response. Okay. Taas lang kayo ng kamay pagka may tanong kayo. Actually, hindi ko nga pangatap here. Okay. Aha. Yan. Sabi, resize the window. Okay. Ay, nawala na naman. Now, what are the monoaminergic neurons? Actually, there are 3 monoaminergic neurons. These are the noradrenergic neurons, the serotonergic neurons, and the dopaminergic neurons. But for depression, the 2 more important ones to consider are the noradrenergic and the serotonergic neurons. Okay. Let's take a look at this. This picture, okay, is just an simplification of how a noradrenergic neuron would send the impulse or the transmitter to the postsynaptic neuron. Okay? So the presynaptic neuron, yun yung nasa taas. That is the noradrenergic neuron. So let us go back to the synthesis. So naalala nyo ba yung synthesis ng norepi, di ba? So norepinephrine is synthesized at the axonal end. Okay, it's never in the body or the dendrites. No, nasa axon ang synthesis. Okay, and once the norepinephrine is synthesized, it is stored in storage vesicle. Kaya nandoon sa loob ng bilog. Oh. Why is that necessary? Because remember that at the axon, there are also enzymes that degrade norepinephrine. And what are these enzymes? These are your monoamine oxidase enzyme. Kaya, remember also that what is the immediate precursor of norepinephrine, by the way? Anybody? Pwede ba ako magpindot? Sino ang anong tawag dito? So itong norepinephrine is synthesized inside the what is the immediate precursor na ulit ng norepinephrine? Ang tahimik naman. No, parang nagmo-monologue. Hello.
Dopamine.
Yon, dopamine. Dopamine is the immediate precursor of norepinephrine. And remember that dopamine, what is the enzyme that converts dopamine to norepinephrine? That is your dopamine beta hydroxylase enzyme. And that enzyme that is necessary to convert that converts dopamine to norepinephrine is also found inside the storage vesicle. Nandito rin siya. Okay? Kaya ang synthesis ng norepinephrine is not in the axoplasm. Rather, it is inside the storage vesicle. Ang nasa labas, dopamine. And then it will be transported inside the storage vesicle where it will be converted to norepinephrine, since this is a noradrenergic neuron. Okay? Now, when this neuron is activated, then norepinephrine will be released in the synapse, where it will now activate postsynaptic receptors, which are mostly your alpha-1, beta-1, and there are also presynaptic receptors here. Remember, your alpha-2 autoreceptor. This alpha-2 autoreceptor, once activated, will control the release of norepinephrine. So, kumbaga, itong autoreceptor na to is an auto-regulator also. So, it regulates the release of norepi. So, pag narelease na sa norepi dito, madami na dyan, na-activate pati siya, sasabihin niya, tama na, madami na. Okay? And the released norepinephrine, ay mali. And the released norepinephrine will activate the postsynaptic receptors. Ayan. And this will create now a response to this neuron. Now, some of the neurotransmitters at the synaptic left will be taken up by the norepinephrine reuptake transporter, and then they will be recycled and then returned back to the axon, where it will ultimately be stored inside the storage vesicle, provided it will not be destroyed by the monoamine oxidase enzyme. Okay? So let's talk about this alpha-2 autoreceptor. The alpha-2 autoreceptor, this is your noradrenergic neuron. Kasi remember, your alpha-2 is presynaptic. Okay? So we talk about presynaptic alpha-2 receptors. So this is your noradrenergic neuron, the one that produce and release norepinephrine. So you can see there you have it, the alpha-2 receptor at the axonal end, and you also have the alpha-2 autoreceptor located at the dendritic end. Okay? So dalawa location ng alpha-2. Hindi lang lahat nasa axon, meron din doon sa dendrites. And whether it is in the dendrite, whether it's located on the dendrite or the axon, once it's activated, isa lang ang role niya sa buhay. And that is to regulate norepinephrine release. So pag na-activate siya, sasabihin niya, inhibit the firing and release of neurotransmitter. So siya magsasabing, tama na. Okay? So yun siya yung off switch. Now, the cell bodies of the noradrenergic neurons in the brain, the principal function is to determine whether attention is focused on the external environment or monitoring the internal milieu of the body. So, it is the locus coeruleus. It is here at the locus coeruleus where most noradrenergic neurons are located. Yan yung kumbaga yung dito yung majority, no? Most of the noradrenergic neurons are located here. And if there is malfunction of this particular part of the brain, then patient may develop depression, anxiety, disorders of attention and information processing. Now tell me, meron ka na ba ngayong ganito? Sabihin mo, ay may anxiety ako, brought about by that one question per page examination. Disorders of attention and information processing, kasi right now as you are watching me or listening to me, meron ka rin diyang ka-chat sa tabi, di ba? Meaning. So this is your noradrenergic pathway. If this is the locus coeruleus, as you can see, dito yung cell body at yung kanyang axon ay ito-throw doon, no? Sa frontal cortex, limbic area, dito sa ang tawag dito sa brainstem, no? Ayan. Kaya marami siyang naapektuhan. So you must understand that the neuron maybe that a neuron is long. Hindi siya ganun kaliit, mahaba yung kanyang mga tail, no? Kaya yung kanyang action, though the noradrenergic neurons located in the locus coeruleus, it could affect different parts of the body. Kahit napakalinggit lang ng locus coeruleus niyan, kahit napakalinggit lang niyan. But the effect of the neurons here, brought about by the release of neurotransmitter, can go all the way to the frontal area. Ganyan, no? Ganyan siya kahahaba. So, what would happen now if an individual has deficiency in norepinephrine? Okay, so ito na naman, impaired attention, problems concentration, deficiencies in working memory, slowness of information, depressed mood, psychomotor retardation, fatigue. O, ilan ang meron ka ngayon? Ilan ang meron ka ngayon? Tanong mo sa sarili mo. Ay, mali. Ito naman yung serotonergic neuron. Okay? So, serotonin is produced, siyempre, sa serotonergic neuron. Okay? And the precursor is the tryptophan. So, pareho rin siya ng noradrenergic neuron. It is degraded by monoamine oxidase, degraded by monoamine oxidase enzyme. And the synthesis is here. So, you have your tryptophan, which will be transported inside the cell. So, that would be the amino acid precursor, and then tryptophan will be hydroxylated, okay, ultimately to become serotonin. Okay, so serotonin will also be stored inside the storage vesicle because if it stays at the exoplasm, it will be degraded by your monoamine oxidase enzyme, the same enzyme that will destroy norepinephrine. Kaya nga, meron naman silang tataguan. And that is the vesicle. And of course, for them to enter the vesicle, they will be transported by what you call the vesicular monoamine transporter. VMAT, generic. Pag VMAT, generic. Vesicular monoamine transporter. So, yung VMAT dito sa loob na ganito, halos ganun din yung VMAT doon sa noradrenergic. Pero yung pump, yung reuptake pump, specific yan. So, for serotonergic neuron, yung Meron tayong serotonergic reuptake pump, meron din tayong noradrenergic reuptake pump. Ano ang role nito? Itong mga pump na to, dito sila located sa labas. Yung VMAT, dito yan sa loob. Pang-transport lang ng neurotransmitter papunta dun sa loob ng vesicle. Okay? So, ayan o, yan yung monoamine oxidase, so yan yung magde-degrade sa serotonin. Kaya agad-agad dapat serotonin that is synthesized within the axoplasm and those that will be taken up by the reuptake pump inside the axoplasm, kailangan maagap yung VMAT na i-transport yan dito sa loob ng vesicle, otherwise it will be destroyed by monoamine oxidase enzyme. Now, when the serotonergic neuron is activated, then of course, the serotonin inside the vesicle will be released at the synaptic cleft where it will activate the postsynaptic receptors. Ngayon, ito ang challenge. Sa serotonin, pagkakadami ng postsynaptic receptors. 5-HT1A, 5-HT2A, 2C, yan, di ba? Pagkakarami. Hindi katulad pagka norepinephrine, ano lang iisipin mo, postsynaptic alpha-1, beta-1, then presynaptic alpha-2. Dito sa serotonergic receptors, napakadaming kausap nitong serotonin. Bukod sa it talks to serotonergic receptors, there is also what you call alpha-2 heteroreceptor. Iba yung alpha-2 kanina, doon sa norepinephrine, ang tawag doon auto. Kasi the same neuron, the same neurotransmitter that will activate the adrenergic receptor. Ito, itong alpha-2 receptor, this is an adrenergic receptor. Okay? Naligaw siya dito sa serotonin. Pero hindi yun. Hindi talaga siya naligaw, inilagay siya dyan. What is the purpose? So that the noradrenergic receptor can talk with serotonin. Kasi itong receptor na to ang mag-i-interpret ng message ng noradrenergic neuron dito sa serotonergic neuron. Okay? So, siya ang interpreter ng norepinephrine. Kaya nga ang serotonergic neuron, pag meron siyang alpha-2 heteroreceptor, tapos meron din siyang autoreceptor, multilingual siya, kaya niyang kausapin ng sarili niya through its own transmitter, at pwede siyang makipag-usap sa noradrenergic receptor through the alpha-2 heteroreceptor. Diba? So, marami siyang kachika. Now, ano ang role ng alpha-2 heteroreceptor? Alpha-2 heteroreceptor, be it at the axon or at the dendritic end of this neuron, ang role niya ay ganun din, to stop or regulate the release of the neurotransmitter. Okay? Now, as you can see, there is an autoreceptor here, okay? Being a serotonergic receptor. Okay? Kaya siya tinawag na autoreceptor kasi serotonergic receptor siya. Ito tinawag na hetero kasi ito, hindi siya serotonergic receptor. Siya ay noradrenergic receptor. Okay. So, alam natin, pag inactivate ang alpha-2, sasabihin niya sa serotonin, tigil na. Pag HT1D na-activate ng serotonin, okay, so ang mag-activate sa 5-HT1D ay serotonin. Ang mag-activate sa alpha-2 ay norepinephrine. Pag na-activate itong dalawang to, titigil ang serotonergic neuron sa pag-release ng serotonin to the synaptic cleft. Okay? Para matigil na ang activation ng masasayang postsynaptic receptors. Excess serotonin at the synaptic cleft will be taken up by the reuptake transporter to be recycled. Okay? So it will be stored and ultimately will be used when the neuron is activated again. Now, again, so sabi natin, meron kang alpha-2 heteroreceptor sa axon. Meron kang 5-HT1D autoreceptor sa axon. At again, ang role is to regulate or inhibit the release of the neurotransmitter. Now, there is also what you call the 5-HT1A. It's a serotonin, 5-hydroxytryptamine. That's another term for serotonin. Okay? So, serotonin 1A receptor is located at the dendritic end. So, this is what you call the presynaptic serotonergic receptor. Okay? So it is also an autoreceptor, okay, that once activated will inhibit naman the firing. Dito, release. Dito, firing. So kung hindi ma-activate itong serotonergic neuron, hindi siya ma-activate to release the neurotransmitter. Okay? So tatlo na ang switch off dito sa serotonergic neuron. Yung alpha-2 hetero, 5-HT1D auto, and 5-HT1A at the dendritic cell body area. Okay? So ito yung 5-HT1D natin sa axonal end. Okay? Then you have your alpha-2. So, lahat silang role nila is to regulate the serotonergic neuron from firing and releasing of the neurotransmitters. Okay. Yun. So, tandaan nyo to ha, alpha-2, 5-HT1D, 5-HT1A. Ngayon, meron na namang isang alpha-1 receptor. Okay? Alpha-1 receptor. Okay? So, this alpha-1 receptor, what is it, Christina? May ano ba tayo? Question? So, kung may question, paano ko yun ma-address? Makikita ko ba dito? Meron ba kayong ano? Paano ko kaya makikita? Sige, mamaya na lang yung question. Isulat nyo na yung question nyo ngayon. Okay? Anyway, this is recorded so you can always go back. Ha? Okay. So, the alpha-1 receptor is located at the cell body or dendritic area of the serotonergic neuron. Ngayon, ito naman kaiba. Kasi once alpha-1 receptor is activated, it will now stimulate the serotonergic neuron to release serotonin. Okay? So, tatlo ang pang-inhibit. 5-HT1D, alpha-2, and then your 5-HT1A. Pero ang pang-activate isa lang, and that is your alpha-1 receptor. Okay? O, ayan o. So, this is what you call neuronal crosstalks. So, one neuron talking to another neuron via the receptors planted either on the axon or the dendritic area, and depending on what receptor is dominantly activated, also depend the response of the neuron. Say, for example, this noradrenergic neuron can talk to serotonin via the alpha-2 at the axonal end and the alpha-1 at the dendritic area. So, activation of the alpha-2 at the axonal end would say serotonin stop. But activation, dominant, kung dominant ang action din sa alpha-1, ang ibig sabihin ng norepinephrine ay i-activate mo yung serotonin. Okay? Okay pa kayo? Okay pa kayo?
Ngayon lang.
Okay pa ba tayo?
Anong oras nag-start? 8.
Okay, mute po.
Okay. So this is now your serotonergic pathway. Sabi natin saan ang headquarters ng mga noradrenergic neurons. So noradrenergic neurons headquarters is in the locus coeruleus. While i-mute natin to. Paano ba natin i-mute yung maingay? Ayan. Yan. Okay. So yung serotonergic headquarter is located at the raphe nucleus. Diyan naman ang karaniwan ng serotonergic neuron. But it doesn't mean that the effect of serotonin would be localized in this area because as we've said, the neurons would have very, very, very long axon that it can project to the frontal cortex, the limbic area, to the brainstem, and then even here. No? So marami. So projection to the spinal cord controls the spinal reflex, which is part of the sexual response, such as orgasm and ejaculation. Such that, kung may problema tayo dito sa area na to, then it could lead to sexual dysfunction. Pagka deficient ang serotonin din, maaaring magkaroon ng sexual dysfunction. No? Sa brainstem, it could also activate the vomiting center. So, pag maraming serotonin dito, pwedeng magkaroon ng vomiting. So, in the CNS, serotonin is the one that mediates your satisfaction, your sociability, and sometimes excess serotonin can even cause migraine. Okay? If you have normal serotonin, you could have decreased. Kung normal ang serotonin mo, ang anxiety level mo dapat mababa. Okay? Pero it can also decrease your sex drive. Serotonin could also affect the platelets, no, from forming clots, and then it may cause bleeding. In the GI, it will increase motility and nausea. So such that, pag meron tayong serotonin deficiency, anong manifestation? So you have their anxiety, depressed mood, just like in norepinephrine deficiency. But also, in serotonin deficiency, it can also cause panic, phobia, obsessive-compulsive disorders, food craving, and bulimia. Kaya nga pagka merong ganito, mga panic attack, phobia, obsessive-compulsive, and food disorder, and food craving, or bulimia, okay? Usually, ang mga binibigay are drugs that may increase the serotonin. Okay? So, alam na natin. So, alam na natin yung pathophysiology, alam na natin kung nasaan ang location ng mga neurons na yan. Kaya, alam mo, pagka halimbawa, what are the organic causes? Depression would also have organic causes. Halimbawa mo, meron kang stroke. And that, for example, there is ischemia or in certain part of the brain. So if it affects the raphe nucleus or the locus coeruleus, obviously, part of the manifestation would be depression. Kaya din sa iba, even in Alzheimer's, kung yung mga abnormal proteins may be located in the locus coeruleus and even in raphe nucleus, that could also cause some depression. So, yung mga sasabi nating organic causes. Okay? So, drugs for treatment of depression. So, having understood that the main problem in depression as of now is based on the monoamine deficiency hypothesis, then the problem would now be addressed by giving what is deficient, diba? Sabi sa monoamine deficiency hypothesis, kulang ang serotonin, kulang ang norepinephrine. So we have to address that problem. Kung ano kulang, dagdagan. So ano yun? Okay. Generalization muna pala tayo. So before we go to the different drugs, let's talk about the general characteristics of antidepressants. Okay? Now, all antidepressants will take time to take effect. Okay? Matagal, hindi agad-agad. Hindi pag inom mo ngayon, bukas okay ka na. Hindi. Kasi there is such thing as desensitization or downregulation of key neurotransmitter receptors. Okay. Naalala niyo pa ba yun, yung concept ng desensitization or downregulation? Okay. O, babalik natin ang alaala natin, no? Kasi medyo matagal nang lumipas, na quarantine pa tayo. Okay. So, di ba sabi natin, yung issue ng upregulation or downregulation of receptors will depend also on the neurotransmitters. So, kapag ka ang neurotransmitters madami, okay? Pag madami ang neurotransmitters, anong nangyayari? Sustained release of neurotransmitters will cause downregulation of the receptor. Pero kung walang neurotransmitter, walang ligand yung receptor, anong tendency? Dadami yung receptor. So, let's take a look at what happens in depression. So, in depression, sabi natin, there is not enough neurotransmitters. Diba? Sabi, sa monoamine deficiency hypothesis, kulang ang neurotransmitter. So, ano ang compensatory mechanism ng katawan? To upregulate the receptors, no? Kaya dumadami yung receptors, yung postsynaptic receptors. Kaya nangyayari sa katagalan, yung depression lumalala kasi it seemed that the economy is down, no? Wala nang neurotransmitter. Ang daming nangangailangan, walang ma-receive, no? Kaya lalong ang pasyente mukhang habang tumatagal na de-depress. Lumalala. And then, here now comes your treatment. So, in-address mo yung issue, kulang ang neurotransmitter. Sabi mo, so kailangan mag-release tayo ng maraming neurotransmitter. So, binigay mo yung gamot, no? Binigyan mo ng gamot yung pasyente. Dumami ngayon yung neurotransmitters niya. Nung dumami ang neurotransmitters niya, okay, na-activate lahat ng postsynaptic receptors. Is that okay? Hindi rin yun maganda. This is the reason why you have the initial adverse effects. Kasi sa dami ng, halimbawa mo, serotonin, majority ng most of the reason for the depression is mostly serotonergic deficiency. You see, there will be a lot of postsynaptic serotonergic receptors here. Dadami yun. And once you treat the patient and the serotonin receptors increased, okay, at the synaptic cleft, then all these receptors will be activated. So, sobra namang dami. And that is the reason why they will have now the initial adverse effect. But ultimately, as the neurotransmitters increase, dadami na yan, magkakaroon na ng down-regulation dito sa postsynaptic area. Kaya it takes a while. Kasi pagbigay mo ng gamot, ayan, no, activate muna niya to, at unti-unti, after 8 weeks, bababa na yung number ng postsynaptic receptors, bababa na rin yung adverse effects, and patient will have improved, okay, manifestations. Mag-i-improve na. Wala na yung depression, yung anxiety, ganyan. But then again, remember, there are 33% of the patients with depression who will not respond. And why would they not respond? Because the abnormality is not in the neurotransmitter, but probably in the receptors and the second messenger. Diba? Pero doon sa mga responders, ito yun. Happy ka, gagaling ang pasyente mo. Kasi na-address mo yung deficiency. Yun lang kasi ang problema sa kanya. Mainam ng mainam, kung ang problema lang ay yung neurotransmitter. Pero pagka kasi secondary messenger ang problema, medyo matagal, no? O kaya gagamit ka ng mga cocktail and it will take a while bago gumaling ang pasyente. O worse, hindi siya mag-respond. Now, antidepressants also affect gene expression, no? Sabi dyan, no? And this will improve the expressions of genes, especially the expression of your BDNF gene. Remember your brain-derived neurotrophic factor? So, pag nag-improve yan, yung BDNF, then masusustain yung longevity ng neurons. Okay? Now, generally, the antidepressants are metabolized by the cytochrome P450 enzymes. And these are the family of CYP enzymes which are specifically responsible for metabolism of antidepressants. We have the CYP1A2, CYP2D6, CYP2C9, CYP2C19, and CYP3A4. By this time, siguro marami na kayo nadinig sa CYP2C9, sa CYP2D6, and CYP1A2 or CYP3A4. So, hindi na to bago sa inyo. No? Nadinig nyo na yan, pamula pa ng first sem hanggang dun sa lecture ko, di ba? Sa Philippines. Ito yun. So, ito, these enzymes are metabolized the antidepressants. So, inhibition or activation of this enzyme would have an effect on other drugs that they metabolize. So, inhibition would mean tataas yung level ng drugs na minametabolize nila. Inhibition, yan. Pag na-inhibit itong mga enzymes ito, yung kanilang drugs that the drugs that they metabolize will eventually increase in amount. Pero kapag ito naman na-activate, bababa naman yung level ng drugs na metabolize. Okay? Mike, do you have a question? Mike Sia, diyan ka ba? Ay, wala. Nag-mute na siya. Okay. Now, let's talk about CYP1A2. So, specifically, this demethylates the tricyclic antidepressants. Okay, so, ang minemetabolize niya ay TCA, specifically clomipramine and imipramine. But this same enzyme is inhibited by the fluvoxamine, which is an SSRI, which we will talk about later. Ito, generalize ko lang para hindi na kayo mahirap mag-memorize. Now, CYP2D6, it also metabolizes the tricyclic antidepressants. And the SSRIs can also inhibit this enzyme. Kaya mahirap kang mag-combine ng isang SSRI at isang TCA sa pasyenteng may depression. Kasi itong SSRI, i-inhibit niya ang enzyme na to, ano mangyayari? Tataas ang level ng TCA at ang adverse effect sa pasyente matindi. CYP3A4. CYP3A4 metabolizes benzodiazepines. While the drugs for depression like SSRIs and epazodone will inhibit this enzyme. Okay. So pag in-inhibit ng SSRI, itong CYP3A4, ano mangyayari sa metabolism ng benzodiazepine? Ano? I-inhibit niya ang metabolism ng benzodiazepine, so benzodiazepine would have longer effect. Na? Kaya pagka nag-combine kang isang benzodiazepine at isang SSRI, expect mo yung pasyente matutulog talaga. Kasi yung SSRI, aside from in itself, nagkakaroon na to ng sleepiness, no? Drowsiness, part of its adverse effect. Yung tapos binigyan mo pa ng benzodiazepines. So, ito, hahaba yung effect. So, yung pasyente mo tulog na tulog. Which is somehow being done. No? Hindi ka naman masyado matakot sa benzodiazepine, lalo na kung hindi naman matanda yung pasyente mo. Kasi, ang benzodiazepine is relatively safer. It has higher therapeutic window or wider therapeutic window. Kasi di ba problema, isa sa mga manifestations ng depression, di sila makatulog, insomnia, di ba? So kung may insomnia yung pasyente mo, ikot ng ikot, o bigyan mo nito para tulog. Okay? Okay, so this is just a table summarizing the inhibitory potential of antidepressants. Tignan mo ha, inhibition. So, inhibitory potential of antidepressants at specific CYP450 enzyme. Okay? So, these are nice to know. Mapapansin nyo, ang frequently occurring drug is your fluvoxamine at CYP1A2, fluvoxamine at CYP2C9, and still fluvoxamine at CYP3A4. So, kumbaga, ang fluvoxamine, marami siyang drug-drug interaction. Ang paroxetine naman, CYP2D6 lang siya. Okay? Yung fluoxetine ay CYP2C9 and CYP3A4. Ito, ang binibigyan ko lang talaga ng importansya ay itong high risk, no? Itong itong drugs which are highly inhibitory for this specific enzyme. Yung mga low to minimal, pwede mo pa rin yang ibigay, no? Even with some drug-drug interaction. So, mapansin mo dito, tinan mo, sa citalopram, low to minimal inhibitory effect lang yun. Kita niyo. So, relatively, ito yung, kung ayaw mo, kung gusto mong makasure na wala ka masyadong drug-drug interaction, di mo minemorize itong table na to. So, pagka sinabi sa citalopram, wala masyadong drug-drug interaction to kasi low to minimal lang ang inhibitory potential niya. Pero pag nandito sa taas, yan, ibig sabihin yan, ang ability to inhibit these enzymes must be high and therefore, there would be high drug-drug interactions. Okay? So, yun ang importante yan. Bakit importante yan? For patient's safety. Remember, patients with depression may also have other illness and they may be taking other drugs. So it is wise for you to know what enzymes would be activated or inhibited by certain important drugs. Kaya importante lang naman talagang tandaan yung mga high, yan o, yung matataas niya. Okay? Para sa drug-drug inhibition. Pero syempre, dapat alam mo din yung walang masyadong potential for drug-drug interaction para alam mo kung ano yung choice mo. Okay. So, having known now the general general characteristics of a drug in terms of metabolism, okay, and the generalization in terms of their effectiveness, then we go now to specific drug classes, right? So the very first class of antidepressants are what you call the MAO inhibitors, right? Monoamine oxidase enzyme. O bakit siya maganda for depression? Sabi natin sa depression ang problema, kulang ang transmitters. Ngayon, yung transmitters na to, neurotransmitters na to, i-destroy pa ng enzyme, di ba? Serotonin and norepinephrine are both degraded intraneuronally by monoamine oxidase. Kaya, nung nalaman nila yung biologics, yung monoamine deficiency as a theory for the development of depression, ang una nilang tinarget ay itong enzyme na to. Inhibit natin yung sumisira doon sa neurotransmitter. So, ang target is monoamine oxidase. So, inhibition of monoamine oxidase enzyme would mean the destruction of the enzyme that would metabolize the monoamine neurotransmitter. And it will boost, boost neurotransmitters in the brain. Not only of serotonin, but also of your norepinephrine and even dopamine. Now, there are two classes of MAO inhibitors. We have what you call the irreversible at meron tayong tinatawag na reversible. Yung irreversible MAO inhibitors, okay, they are also called suicide inhibitors. These irreversible inhibitors do not distinguish between MAO A and MAO B. So, kumbaga, itong irreversible or classic, tinatawag yung classic kasi yan ang pinakauna, no? First generation MAO inhibitors. They inhibit both MAO A and MAO B, and their inhibition of enzyme is irreversible. Ibig sabihin, matagal ang effect. No? Hindi mo siya ma-reverse. So, pag pumasok siya doon, lock na. Parang exam lang yan. Pag pumasok ka doon, at ginilagay mo yung answer mo, touch, move, lock na. Pag mali, yan. Sorry, gano'n mangyayari. O yan, maasar na naman kayo. Yan na. Yan na i-move. So, ano man sinasabi ko, dalawang enzyme. So, we have MAO B and MAO A. And both of them are present intraneuronally at the axon. So, MAO B basically is the one that inhibits what is the one that is responsible for Parkinson's? Sabi ni Dr. Alejo? Dopamine. So, MAO B, yun, galing. Yan, may kausap pala ako. Thank you. So, ang MAO B inhibits mostly dopamine, while monoamine A inhibit both serotonin, norepinephrine, and a little bit of dopamine. Okay. So, yung original or yung classic MAO inhibitors inhibit both MAO A and MAO B. So that the metabolism even of dopamine at certain extent, serotonin and norepinephrine will be inhibited. In essence, ano magiging mangyayari? Supposedly, tataas ang dopamine transmitters, tataas ang serotonin, tataas ang norepi. Kasi wala nang sisira sa kanila eh. No? Now, ano yung tinatawag na, anong adverse effect nito? So, it will cause what you call cheese reaction. Okay? Because monoamine oxidase enzyme, aside from metabolizing these monoamine neurotransmitters, they are also the ones that metabolize tyramine. What is tyramine? Where does it come from? Hindi siya innate sa atin. Tyramine is the byproduct of the metabolism of fermented food. Hindi lang naman cheese ang fermented. Marami rin kimchi nga fermented, di ba? Fermented vegetables yan. We also have fermented drinks, like your wine, di ba? Lahat yun fermented. Beer, yun, lahat yun fermented. So, lahat nun, ultimately, ang metabolite nila is tyramine. And that tyramine, that metabolite easily crosses the blood-brain barrier. Mapasok yan sa brain. Tapos papasok din siya sa neurons. So, it's not a problem because if you have monoamine oxidase, it will easily be degraded. Kasi for as long as you have MAO existing in your brain, this tyramine will not prosper. Papatayin niya rin naman yung tyramine. But the problem is, if you're depressed, you're taking the MAO inhibitors, and then you eat a lot of these fermented foods and drinks. Kakain ka ng QUESO, queso. O, tumaas ang tyramine mo, and so what happens? You develop now the adverse effect. Ano adverse effect noon ng madaming tyramine sa brain? That tyramine, okay, exerts a sympathomimetic effect. Okay? Sympathomimetic effect. O sabi niyo, ha? Ano na naman yung sympathomimetic effect? Naalala niyo yun? First sem pa, no? Kaso patapos na kasi ang taon. Nag-quarantine pa. So baka mamaya nag-atrophy ang knowledge. Diba? So, ano sabi ng sympathomimetic? Di ba nadinig yun na yun sa simpa? Pag matas ang tyramine, nagkakaroon ng cheese reaction. Ano yun? Manifestation nun. Hypertensive crisis. Bigla mag-hypertension, sobrang taas, headache, may even collapse. No? Oh. That is the reason why patients who are given MAO inhibitors have diet restrictions. Di pwede yung mga fermented food. And because of these food-drug interactions, these classic MAO inhibitors, considering their irreversibility and therefore the adverse effect brought about by excess dopa. Kasi ayaw naman masyado na maraming dopa pagka ikaw ay may depression. Kasi sa depression, ang kulang talaga serotonin and norepinephrine. Hindi masyado. Eh kung dumami ang dopa, ano sabi natin? Anong illness naman? Ang cause ng maraming dopamine. That is what? Kung marami kang dopamine na mangyayari sa'yo, psychosis. Kung masyadong mababa naman ng dopamine, mangyayari sa'yo, Parkinson's. Diba? Yun. Kaya dapat ang dopamine hindi masyadong ginagalaw. Dapat sapat lang. So therefore, itong classic MAO inhibitors, now they are second-line treatment for anxiety disorders. Second-line. Okay? And sometimes they are also used in panic disorders and for those with social phobia. Magkakaroon pa ba tayo ng social phobia ngayon? Hindi tayo nakikita-kita, no? So, social distancing. No? Now, dahil sa food-drug interaction ng classic MAO, eto na tayo, nag-develop ngayon ng reversible inhibitors and specific only for MAO-A. Kasi nga naman, MAO-A lang naman ang gusto natin kasi ito yung sumisira sa serotonin and norepinephrine. So siya na lang yung inhibit natin. Total si MAO-B, medyo choosy siya. MAO-B only degrades dopamine. So itong RIMA, it inhibits the MAO-A only. Okay? So it has same therapeutic effects as the suicide inhibitors, yung mga irreversible MAO inhibitors, and that's the reason why these RIMAs have less hypertensive effect. Kaya ito, this is mga nagtitake ng MAO-A, halimbawa, nagkamali sila, uminom sila ng konting beer, nakakain sila ng pizza, hindi masyado yung hypertensive crisis. Walang masyadong nung issue ng cheese reaction. Kasi, meron pa naman sisira sa tyramine, and that is your MAO-B. Okay? Kasi MAO-A lang ang ini-inhibit nito. Besides, reversible pa siya. So, therefore, the inhibitory effect is only up to a certain time. Pagkatapos, babalik na ulit. Diba? Parang tayo lang, na-inhibit tayo dahil sa MECQ. Okay? Na-lockdown ka. Pero sa June 1, GCQ na daw. So, pwede ka nang lumabas for as long as you are more than 21 years old. Diba? Mag-GCQ na daw sa June 1. So, baka kayo makalabas na. Open ang SM. Pero tandaan nyo ha, social distancing, always observe proper hygiene and wear your mask. Okay? Now, going back, ano-ano ngayon itong mga, gusto nyo nang makilala ang specific MAO inhibitors. So for classic MAO, yung mga irreversible and non-selective, tatlo lang naman ang tatandaan natin, no? Phenelzine, tranylcypromine, and isocarboxazine. Yung naka-enclose in parenthesis, brand name yun. Huwag kang mag-alala, hindi ko itatanong sa exam. Reversible inhibitors of MAO-A, okay? Meron tayo, ang prototype nito is your moclobemide. Meron na rin mga ibang bagong RIMAS, okay? So, para sa mga bagong kaalaman, kasi mabobore kayo kung susulat ko lahat yan, ano? So, yung mga RIMAS na iba pa, you can simply look it up in Katsu. Alam ko namang mahilig kayo magbasa, lalo na ngayon. Quarantine, basa ng basa. Sige, pwede naman yung idagdag sa pagbabasa nyo si Katsung na hanapin nyo yung ibang RIMAS. Pero prototype na dapat hindi nyo kalilimutan is moclobemide. Now, yung selective inhibitors of MAO-B, hindi ko siya sakop, no? Deprenyl. Dahil sabi natin, ang inhibitors ng MAO-B is more for Parkinson's. So, kay Dr. Alejo yan, deprenyl. Now, another group of antidepressant is the tricyclic antidepressants. Okay. Sabi natin, yung MAO inhibitors, ang target niya ay yung enzyme that metabolizes the neurotransmitter, and that's your monoamine oxidase enzyme. Sa tricyclic antidepressant, ang target niya is the reuptake pump. Okay? Remember, dun sa diagram kanina, you have the serotonin reuptake pump, norepinephrine reuptake, and you also have the dopamine reuptake. Ano ang role ng mga reuptake pump? They take up the excess neurotransmitters sa the synaptic cleft, yung nailabas na, sila yung magbabalik. Sila kasi yung nasasayangan sa sobra. Diba? Pag minsan, mag-order ka ng madami, tapos, I remove this window away from the shared application. Paano ba yun? Ay, kaloka. Tagalin natin to. Ay, yan. So, kasi na nga uli ako. So, it blocks the reuptake pump, no? So, remember that the reuptake pumps, they are the ones that take up the excess neurotransmitters of the synaptic cleft back to the neuron where they are recycled. Huh? And then they are stored back in a storage vesicle. Now, there are so many tricyclic antidepressants. Yun lang. So, dapat lang gagawa ka ng paraan para ma-memorize mo siya. Huwag na magre-reklamo. Move on ka agad. So, these are negative allosteric modulators of the neurotransmitter reuptake process. Okay? There are some tricyclics which are potent inhibitors of serotonin reuptake like clomipramine. Meron naman yung more selective lang sa norepi, katulad ng desipramine, nortriptyline, protriptyline. But most of the TCAs would block both the serotonin and the norepinephrine reuptake pump. Now, yung inhibition ng reuptake pump, yan ang kanyang therapeutic mechanism of action. Yun ang mechanism of action of its therapeutic efficacy, and therefore the reason why it is being used for treatment of depression. Okay? So sabi natin, pag inhibit mo yung reuptake pump, walang magre-reuptake ng neurotransmitter sa synaptic cleft, therefore, saan mapupunta yung neurotransmitters? It stays there in the synapse. And the more neurotransmitters at the synapse would mean more transmission at the postsynaptic receptors, di ba? So, mag-improve ang pasyente. So, dadami na ang neurotransmitters doon sa synaptic cleft. No? So, sasaya na yung pasyente. Sasaya na yung. Nangyari. Ayan. Okay. Now, However, TCAs have three other actions. And these are, 1, blockade of muscarinic receptors, blockade of H1 histamine receptors, blockade of alpha-1 adrenergic receptors, and inhibition of ionic channels like sodium and calcium channels. Okay? So, ano pa ang ibang action ng TCA? Blocks muscarinic alpha-1 histamine. Okay? And then, it also blocks sodium and calcium channels. Now, these three other actions has nothing to do with its therapeutic effect. Rather, these three other actions are responsible for its adverse effects. So, itong mga karagdagang aksyon ng TCA na to ay yan ang dahilan ng kanilang mga side effects. So, these are the different TCAs. Medyo madami sila, no? May mga pramine, clomipramine, imipramine, desipramine, temipramine. Meron din tilin, amitriptyline or tryptyline, protriptyline, maprotyline. Okay? At yung isa, mga sapin, amoxapine, doxepine. Okay? So, yun yung mga suffixes na baka gusto nyong memorize para maalala nyo. Now, ano ang side effect? Blocking the alpha-1, ano mangyayari? Saan nga yung alpha-1? Sabi natin, mostly sa blood vessels. So, if you block the alpha-1, that would mean vasodilation, bababa ang BP, and so patients are prone to develop orthostatic hypotension and dizziness. Ngayon, kung binigay mo itong TCA sa isang pasyente na nagkakaroon ng, na merong na nagtitake din ng anti-hypertensive niya, no? Ano mangyayari? Halimbawa mo, ako hypertensive. Tapos, na-depress ako sa inyo. Nag-take ako ng TCA. Ano pwede mangyari sa akin? Binigyan ako ng TCA. O nagtitake pala ako ng anti-hypertensive. Ano mangyayari sa akin? Lalong bababa yung blood pressure ko. Ano? Magkakaroon ako ng hypotension and dizziness. Pwedeng pag gising ko sa umaga, bigla na lang akong mawalan ng malay at biglang mahulog sa sahig. O di ba? Pwedeng ganun ang mangyari. That is the reason why when you're giving this drug, you have to be wary of the other drugs which your patient is taking. Dapat kukuha ng history ng drug use. Ano po ba ang iba ninyong iniinom na gamot? That is a good consideration so that you will know whether the drug that you're giving would benefit your patient. Hindi lang iisipin mo na, beneficial to kasi nakakagaling to ng depression. Kagaling nga sa depression, nag-hypotension ng pasyente, no? Nagkaroon ng orthostatic hypotension, nahilo, o biglang natumba sa sahig. Nauntog yung ulo sa kanto. Ayun, nangyari. So, yun yung mga dapat na consideration. Another adverse effect is the anti-muscarinic effect. So, ano ang manifestations ng anti-muscarinic effect niya? So, there is drying of the mouth, there is blurring of vision, urinary retention, constipation, memory disturbance, and increased body temperature. Blocking of H1 receptors would mean that patients may be sedated, so nakakaantok siya, at makakakos din ng weight gain. O yun naman, yung pasyente mo, jubis-jubis, o bibigyan mo nito, lalo magkakaroon ng weight gain, patulog-tulog na lalo. So, yun ang problema. Now, in overdoses, TCAs may cause wide QRS complex. And in case of overdose, ano ang treatment? You give bicarbonate. Okay? Bicarbonate. Anong bicarb? Ang bicarb ay ano? Alkaline. So, ibig sabihin ng pasyente mo nag-acidotic tricyclic antidepressants. Okay? Tandaan niyo yan, ha? Now, let's go to some specific TCA. Let's talk about imipramine. This is the prototype. Huwag niyo kakalimutan ng prototype kahit lumang drug na yan, ha? Kasi kahit sa board exam at saka international board exam, yung mga prototype, hindi nawawala. Kaya dapat, pag mag-memorize kayo ng gamot, hanapin niyo yung prototype. Okay? So, sa TCA, ang prototype is imipramine. And it is, aside from being used for treatment of depression, They are sometimes used for treatment of nocturnal enuresis or bedwetting in children. Yung mga batang hindi, yung mga batang umihi pa sa higaan, malalaki na, mga grade 3 na, grade 4 na, ganyan, grade 5, grade 6. Kahit kayo, kung meron kayong bedwetting issues, at ang problema nyo ay hindi naman dun sa prostate, baka yan, may primary help. Okay? So, yun lang yung prototype na diniscuss ko. Pero, hindi ibig sabihin doon tayo matatapos, ha? You go back to Katsung. Hanapin nyo pa yung ibang outstanding characteristic ng ibang TCA. Then we go to, ano na yung first class? MAO inhibitors. Second class, TCAs. Third, yung mga selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. Ito, medyo sikat, mga SSRIs. No? So, pag sinabi mong selective, ibig sabihin, anong neurotransmitter ang tataas? So, specifically, with SSRI, ang tataas mas madami would be your serotonin. So, wala siyang pakialam sa dopamine, wala siyang pakialaman sa norepinephrine. So, ano ang tataas lang? Serotonin. Anong sabi natin sa serotonin deficiency? Anong manifestation? Sabi natin, depression, anxiety, panic disorder, na obsessive compulsive disorder, bulimia. Kaya itong mga SSRI, ito yung mga binibigay sa mga pasyenteng may ganon. Yung mga may panic attacks, meron ka mga ganon. Merong anxiety, severe anxiety disorder, yung social anxiety. O kaya yung mga pasyenteng merong obsessive compulsive na napaparalyze na sila, no? Hindi sila makalis sa bahay kasi hugas sila ng hugas ng kamay, o kaya they keep on checking the bathroom, kung maayos ba, o they keep on checking if they turn off the switch, balik-balik silang ganun. O yan. O kaya yung may bulimia, o kain ng kain, tapos susuka. So they act on presynaptic axon terminal initially. Kaya, ang initial action nila doon sa axon. No? So, sa presynaptic, kasi nandoon yung reuptake pump sa presynaptic axon terminal. So, inhibit nila yung reuptake pump doon. So, pag na-inhibit mo yung reuptake pump sa serotonin, ano mangyayari? Serotonin stays in the synaptic cleft. And serotonin is free to activate postsynaptic serotonergic receptors. But again, remember, they do not relieve depression immediately. So, some of the well-known SSRIs are the following: fluoxetine, sertraline, paroxetine, fluvoxamine, and citalopram. Fluvoxamine, remember, is associated with a lot of drug-drug interaction with your CYP2 enzymes, no? Even your CYP3A4, CYP1A9, even fluoxetine. But citalopram is weakly inhibitory to most CYP enzymes. So this is the mechanism of action of SSRI. So sabi natin initially, okay? So it will inhibit the reuptake pump. Inhibition of the reuptake pump at the presynaptic cleft would mean now an increase in the neurotransmitters. Okay? So pag dumami yung neurotransmitters, ito, dadami yung neurotransmitters dito, di ba? Eh kung ito, it activates another serotonergic neuron, ma-activate, so ito, di ba, lumabas ng serotonin dito. Pupunta siya dyan, lalakad siya, lalakad. Pupunta ngayon siya dito sa susunod na neuron. Where, okay, kung halimbawa, serotonergic pa rin, nagsasynapse ang isang serotonin sa isang serotonin. Dumami ang serotonin neurotransmitters. So, ang unang-unang mai-inhibit would be the presynaptic serotonergic receptors. Okay, di ba napansin niyo dyan? During depression, sabi natin, nagkakaroon ng upregulation ng mga receptors. So you have the postsynaptic receptors, okay? You have the receptors at the dendritic area. Madami yan initially. Nagbigay ka na ngayon ng gamot. Okay? Dumami yung serotonin mo kasi hindi na reuptake yung serotonin dito. Remember, wala kang dinadagdag na serotonin, ha? We are not giving any serotonin. What we are trying to do here is to inhibit the reuptake of serotonin, which you yourself is making. Tayo gumagawa ng serotonin. Ini-inhibit lang natin yung reuptake para dumami sa synaptic cleft. At the same time, ma-diffuse siya. So, di-diffuse siya ganyan. So pagka dumami ang serotonin, ang unang magda-down-regulate would be the dendritic. Ito, yan, yung mga dendritic receptors. So ano yung nandito sa dendritic receptors? Remember, you have your 5-HT1A at the presynaptic area. Ano sabi natin? That 5-HT1A will inhibits the firing. Diba? Inhibits the firing of serotonin. So once na mag-down-regulate yung mga yan, magdi-decrease yung bababa yung inhibition dito sa area na to. And therefore, the inhibitory effect on the firing of the receptors will diminish. In short, hindi na siya malala. Free na siya na ma-activate. And once it is activated, it will now send impulses downwards to its axon to release more serotonin. Yan. Tapos, nadami na ang serotonin dito. Pag-down-regulate yung postsynaptic dito sa other parts of the brain. And ultimately, magda-down-regulate din itong postsynaptic receptors. Pag nag-down-regulate na to, and this happens approximately 8 weeks after treatment, then the patient will improve. Provided, again, that the main problem is provided the problem is deficiency of monoamine neurotransmitters. So what are the antidepressant profiles of the SSRIs in general? Now, there is no loading dose. Okay? Hindi mo pwedeng bigyan ng mataas-mataas na dose ngayon para sabihin mo, ay, taasan natin yung dose ngayon para mas mabilis ang effect. Hindi. The starting dose is just the same as its maintenance dose. So, nag-start ka sa 5 mg, pwedeng maintain mo siya sa 5 mg. But the onset of its effect usually starts about 3 to 8 weeks. Ang ibig sabihin ng onset ng therapeutic effect yan. But the adverse effect may be immediate. Okay? So, yung adverse effect brought about by the blockade of the anti-muscarinic receptor, blockade of the muscarinic, histamine, alpha-1 receptors may be immediate. So, dito sa mga SSRIs, ang pwedeng unang maranasan ng pasyente mo ay yung kanyang side effect rather than the therapeutic effect. Because the therapeutic effect would manifest 3 to 8 weeks or approximately average of 4 to 6 weeks after treatment. Matagal yung response, therapeutic response. And the response that we are hoping is complete remission of symptoms. Sabi naman nila, the target symptoms do not worsen when treatment is initiated. But sometimes hindi yan totoo kasi may mga symptoms na nag-worsen. Like for example, initially, di ba sabi natin sa postsynaptic receptors, maraming serotonergic receptors initially kasi wala nga serotonin una no? Wala kasi serotonin na una. So nag-upregulate yung mga postsynaptic receptors mo. At yung mga postsynaptic receptors mo, you have your serotonin 2A, 2C, the limbic cortex. Ngayon, nagbigay ka ng SSRI, dumami yung serotonin dun sa area na yun, marami pa yung receptors ngayon, anong pwedeng mangyari? Pwedeng magkaroon ng anxiety, acute mental agitation, and induction of panic attacks. Pwedeng ganun na mangyari sa pasyente. So, di ba parang, ay, nakakatakot naman yan, lalo ma-agitate, lalo magiging anxious. Kaya nga, because of the delayed response, delayed therapeutic response, what we do initially is give them additional benzodiazepines. Para, di ba, ang benzodiazepine, so it will sedate them. So, mababawasan ng anxiety, ang panic attack, makakatulog sila. Di ba? So, acute stimulation of A receptors in the basal ganglia, pwede magkaroon ng restlessness, o lalo magkaroon ng psychomotor retardation. Pwede magkaroon ng initial mild Parkinsonism and dystonic movements, but these are only initial. Umpisa lang yan, pero mawawala din kasi magda-down-regulate naman yung mga 2A receptors in time. Diba? In the brainstem, pwede magkaroon ng rapid muscle movements that's called myoclonus, or there could be disruption of slow wave sleep. Again, all these side effects may ultimately wane o bababa as the receptors down-regulate while the neurotransmitters increase inlet. So, stimulation of serotonin 2A receptors in the spinal cord may inhibit spinal reflexes of orgasm and ejaculation, and this may cause sexual dysfunction. Sad to say, this is the only adverse effect of SSRI that persists. So, yun. Ito, kahit mag-down-regulate yung serotonin 2A receptors sa spinal cord, minsan yung sexual dysfunction, it is persistent. And that is also the reason why most males who are being treated for depression and are being given SSRI, they are the ones who are not, who do not comply. O yung mga lalaki. Kasi yan ang effect ng sexual dysfunction. Minsan nagiging dahilan pa na paghihiwalay. Kaya minsan ayaw nila yung adverse effect. The mesocortical pleasure center, it may also decrease libido, apathy, and reduce dopamine activity. Stimulation of serotonin 3 in the hypothalamus or the brainstem may be the reason why initially patient may develop nausea and vomiting as a side effect. The stimulation of serotonin 3 and 4 in the GI may cause diarrhea, abdominal pain. Now, let's go to specific SSRI. Fluoxetine. This is the Prozac. No? Isa sa mga unang serotonin na lumabas sa market. Among the SSRIs, fluoxetine is the one with the longest half-life, 1 week. And the reason for its long half-life is because of its active metabolite, which is norfluoxetine. So it stays in the body for a longer period of time. So anong ibig sabihin nun? Kahit na itigil mo ngayong araw na to yung fluoxetine mo, yung effect niya may still persist for about a week. Kasi yung kanyang half-life. Pero pwede pang tumagal ng 2 weeks. Then another SSRI is Zoloft, your sertraline. Now, ito naman, of all the SSRI, this is the one that causes most diarrhea. Siya yung pinaka-nakakapagpatuloy. To reduce that side effect, it's important that sertraline be given with meals. It is also safe for breastfeeding or even for pregnant women, as less drug goes to the placenta and the breast. So breastfeeding, sertraline. Yeah, paroxetine. Now, this is the one that is most rapidly absorbed, but it is also the one associated with most adverse effects initially. Now, if withdrawn rapidly, it may lead to withdrawal symptoms. Okay? So, yung paroxetine, it is the one that causes withdrawal symptoms. It is not for pregnant women. Then you have your citalopram. Citalopram, di ba sinabi ko sa inyo kanina, less ang kanyang drug-drug interaction kasi less ang inhibition niya sa mga CYP enzyme. So this is an excellent first-line agent because it is highly tolerable. However, you have to be cautious about its cardiac adverse effect because citalopram may cause prolonged QT. So it's very important that before you give citalopram, you have to do baseline ECG, and while on citalopram, patients should have periodic ECG monitoring. Periodic, hindi naman araw-araw. Then another one is escitalopram. This is just an active form of citalopram, meaning to say, mas mabilis ang effect niya. And just like citalopram, it also has an excellent enzyme-drug interaction. Then you have the fluvoxamine. Fluvoxamine, okay, as I have mentioned, is one of the SSRI that has a lot of drug-drug interaction because it has inhibitory effect to majority of the CYP enzymes that metabolize SSRI. But this is the first line of first line of treatment for patients with obsessive compulsive disorder. Okay, so tapos na tayo so those are your SSRI. Another group of drug is noradrenergic reuptake inhibitors. In Katsung, you may see this as a atypical tricyclic antidepressant. But for this lecture and for for you to understand it better, para hindi malito, I just took it out as noradrenergic reuptake inhibitors. So when you say noradrenergic reuptake inhibitors, specific lang siya, so norepinephrine. So if your manifestation is more of norepinephrine deficiency, depressed with cognitive disorders, okay? Fatigability, ganyan, loss of problem with sustained sustained problem with your memories, ganyan. Then you may have noradrenergic deficiency. So in case merong noradrenergic deficiency at yun ang dahilan ng inyong depression, then noradrenergic reuptake may be good. So the first truly selective noradrenergic reuptake inhibitor is reboxetine. So ito yung prototype niya. So the therapeutic profile of reboxetine would include depression. So pwede rin siya sa mga may fatigue, apathy, yan, psychomotor retardation, yun, attention. Kasi isa sa mga manifestation ng noradrenergic deficiency is decreased abilities to sustain attention. Okay? So it may also be used for patients with cognitive slowing, deficiency in working memory, and in those with problem of information processing. So pagka tinignan mong ganyan, pwede. Pwede sa'yo, di ba? Meron kang psychomotor retardation ngayon. Marami sa inyo ngayon, merong attention deficit kasi chikahan kayong chikahan dyan. Siyempre, hindi ka nabibigay. Disorders of cognitive slowing, di ba? O problema kayo sa working memory nyo, yung processing ng information, no? So sabihin nyo, reboxetine is the one for me. Remember, however, that it has a lot of adverse effects also. So blocking the norepinephrine reuptake transporter would mean more norepinephrine at the synaptic cleft. But remember, these are drugs that you take in systemically, and therefore the effect is not solely in the CNS, but it may also affect your peripheral nervous system, specifically the sympathetic autonomic nervous system. So, tandaan nyo, ang effect nito ay hindi lang sa brain, kundi sa peripheral nervous system. So, that means, kung mataas ang norepinephrine mo, that would also lead to excess norepinephrine in the periphery. So, ano mangyayari? Norepinephrine will activate your beta-1 in the cerebellum, your peripheral system. So, sa periphery, saan yung beta-1? Sa heart. So, magta-tachycardia ka. And also, you have your beta receptors, the muscle spindle fibers that may cause tremors and agitation. Okay, in the limbic area, it may cause agitation. Okay, in the cardiovascular system, it may alter blood pressure. Okay? So, it may also cause pseudo-anticholinergic syndrome or manifested with drying of the mouth, constipation, and urinary retention. Another group of drug is the dopamine norepinephrine reuptake inhibitor. Okay? There's only one prototype which I want you to remember, and that is bupropion. Bupropion is a prodrug, so it has to be activated to release its active metabolite, which is more powerful norepinephrine reuptake blocker in the brain. Okay? So, ang kagandahan sa bupropion, and even with norepinephrine reuptake inhibitor, they are not associated with sexual dysfunction kasi wala silang effect sa serotonin. So it lacks a significant serotonergic component to its action. It's useful antidepressants for patients who cannot tolerate SSRIs because of their adverse effects. And also, off-label, bupropion is used to decrease craving for smoking. Other adverse effects include lowering of seizure threshold. That is why it is not for patients with bulimia. So, ano ba namang connection ng bulimia sa seizure? Pag may bulimia ka, ibig sabihin, nagsusuka ka, di ba? Kakain ka madami, tapos suka ka ng suka. Pagkasuka ng suka, ano mangyari? Electrolytes mo bababa. At ang pagbaba ng electrolytes may also lower your seizure threshold. Kaya, pag may bulimia ang pasyente, huwag mo mabigyan ng bupropion. Baka dahil sa kasusukan niyan, nagkaroon ng electrolyte imbalance, bumaba ang seizure threshold, lalo mag-seizure. Okay? So for bulimia, your drug of choice would be SSRI. Then you have the serotonin noradrenergic reuptake inhibitor. Oh, di ba parang, di kung serotonin noradrenergic reuptake inhibitor, di ba parang siyang TCA? Kasi ang tricyclic antidepressants inhibit your serotonergic, noradrenergic reuptake, and even the paminergic reuptake, di ba? Transporters. Pero anong pagkakaiba niya sa TCA? Pagkakaiba niya, wala siyang alpha-1 blocking property, wala siyang anticholinergic effect, and it has no histamine blocking property. So, ang prototype is venlafaxine. So, other serotonergic noradrenergic reuptake inhibitor may have different degrees in terms of potency in inhibiting serotonin reuptake or epinephrine reuptake and dopamine reuptake. Now, venlafaxine is metabolized by CYP2D6. It has an active metabolite which is desvenlafaxine. The adverse effects would, if it is combined with SSRI, would mean hypertension. And also, venlafaxine inhibits norepinephrine and serotonin reuptake, then the patient may initially manifest with excess serotonin and excess norepinephrine. Another serotonergic norepinephrine reuptake inhibitor is duloxetine. It is used mainly for major depressive disorder, and it is also very useful for managing chronic pain like fibromyalgia, diabetic neuropathy, and PMS. Then we go to alpha-2 receptor. Naalala niyo pa ba yung alpha-2 receptors? Parang few minutes ago, sinabi natin. Ano ang alpha-2 receptors? When it is a non-noradrenergic receptor, it is an auto-regulatory receptor. When it is in the serotonergic receptor, it is a heteroreceptor. But the effect would be what? Activation of alpha-2 would mean decrease in the release of your neurotransmitters, either serotonin or norepinephrine. Okay? Pasabi natin yun. So, yung alpha blockers are also used as antidepressant. Blocking alpha-2 would mean, okay, enhance release of your neurotransmitters, both serotonin and norepinephrine. Now, so ano ang prototype ng alpha-2 antagonist? It's your mirtazapine. It's a potent antagonist on alpha-2 receptors, but it also antagonizes serotonin 2A, postsynaptic 2C, and serotonin 3, and it also has antihistaminergic property. Now, 5-HT2A antagonist effect contribute to its antidepressant effect. Okay? The serotonin 2A, 2C, H1 antihistamine blocking property is the reason why it has anxiolytic and sedative properties. Then we go to serotonin 2A antagonist reuptake inhibitor. So the SARI, it inhibits, so it blocks the serotonin 2A, therefore, may enhance yung release. It also blocks the reuptake. So, it blocks the inhibition and it blocks the reuptake. So, saan po pupunta ang neurotransmitters mo? Wala na ibang puntahan, kundi dun lang sa synaptic cleft. And there are two phenylpiperazines. These are your nefazodone and trazodone. Again, in Katsung, you may see this as simply atypical TCAs. SARIs act by potent blockade of serotonin 2A receptors combined with the less potent serotonin reuptake inhibition. Nefazodone is a weak norepinephrine reuptake inhibition as well as a weak alpha-1 blocking property. Trazodone, on the other hand, has more antihistaminergic property and alpha-1 blocking property, but it lacks norepinephrine reuptake inhibitory properties of nefazodone. So trazodone is more used as a sleeping agent. And the adverse effect, take note, is priapism. What is priapism? Okay. So that's all for your antidepressants. And remember this, guys. Every struggle in your life has shaped you into the person you are today. So be thankful for the hard times. Right? Because they can only make you stronger. Remember, you're living in a new generation. COVID starts, or COVID is the beginning of a new normal. And kami, malapit na kami mga nasa mid na kami ng buhay namin, o baka konti na lang. Pero kayo, nag-uumpisa pa lang. So you have to be thankful for these hard times and you have to learn to adapt. Okay? Do not always look for things that will, I know that that most of us would prefer making things a little bit easier. Pero we cannot do it all the time. Okay? Hard times there for you to be stronger. Difficult examination is there, not to make it more toxic on your part, not to make it difficult on your part, but for you to persevere more. And to mga difficulties that you are facing, these tests your will to really persevere. Gusto mo ba talagang maging doktor? Then you have to learn to adapt to these hard times. So ang matitira talaga dito ay yung talagang gustong magpursige. Sa mga gusto lang sa madali, it may not be for you. Okay? Alright. So the next topic is the antidepressants. Ay, antipsychotic pala. I-share natin yung next slide. So, do you have questions? Now, if you have questions, you can do it in Telegram kasi baka maubusan na tayo ng time. Pagka dito tayo mag-discuss. Sa Telegram, pwede naman. Ha? Okay. Alright. So, let's go to antipsychotic. For your questions, just write it and then I will answer them. Okay? Now, for antipsychotic drugs. So, ganun din ang objectives. First, you have to understand the pathophysiology of psychosis. Because, remember this, in pharmacology, in clinical pharmacology, kasi clinical pharmacology na to eh, yung meron kaming dinidiscuss na illness, tapos yung medication. This is clinical pharmacology. And then in clinical therapeutics, that's where you are supposed to discern which one is the best among the drugs for the treatment of this certain condition. So, it's very important at this point na dapat alam nyong i-marry yung pathophysiology ng disease doon sa gamot na ibinibigay for a disease. Kaya nga, when I started with the discussion of depression, I started with the pathophysiology. Bakit siya nagkakaroon ng depression? Kasi walang neurotransmitter. Short of a neurotransmitter that we give to people. Kasi ang neurotransmitters are proteins. And when you take in proteins, easily it will be metabolized. So you have to give something else that will reach the brain. Kaya ang mga ginagamit ay to increase the neurotransmitters lacking in the brain by inhibiting those things that prevent it from being released. Diba? So, ganun din dito. Kaya ang objectives ng ating discussion is also you have to understand the pathophysiology of psychosis so that you'd be able to correlate the drugs used to the drug, to the pathophysiology. So, i-correlate mo yung mechanism of action ng drug doon sa pathophysiology ng disease. Second, you have to know, of course, basics of pharmacology is the pharmacodynamics. And you have to understand and remember the pharmacokinetic aspect of the drug because that will help you in deciding whether it fits your patient or not in terms of other morbidity. Kasi sa pharmacokinetics, doon mo rin ma-explain kung bakit ang pasyente ay maaari mayroong side effect. At doon din sa kanyang actions, doon mo rin makikita bakit nagkakaroon ng adverse effect itong drug na to. And because of those adverse effects, ito ba ay bagay sa pasyente mo? So, yun. Right? So, yun yung basic na dapat ninyong tandaan. Now, let's talk about psychosis. So, ano ang psychosis? It's a set of symptoms in which a person's mental capacity, affective response, and capacity to recognize reality, communicate, and relate to others are impaired. So, psychosis is a big heading. And under this, you have your schizophrenia, the manic phase of bipolar disorder, acute idiopathic psychotic illness, and other conditions marked by severe agitation. Meron ka ba noon? No. What are the biological basis of schizophrenia? So, for you to understand this, you have to know the dopaminergic pathway. And I hope you've gone through this when you discuss Parkinson's. Kasi di ba sa Parkinson's, dopamine. Well, anyway, let's go about dopamine pathways. There are 4 well-defined dopaminergic pathways in the brain. These are your mesolimbic, the mesocortical, the nigrostriatal, and the dubroinfundibular dopamine pathway. So what are the effects of dopamine in the body? It is the one that guides our drive. Drive mo, hindi yung pagda-drive sa labas. Yung drive mo to succeed. Drive mo para mag-persevere. It also is the one that's responsible for psychosis, except excess dopamine may cause psychosis. Pagka naman deficient, it may cause Parkinsonism. Deficiency may also cause attention and motor disorder. Dopamine may also cause inhibition of prolactin. Okay? It is also, remember, yung dopamine din is associated with the effects of drugs of abuse, di ba? Kasi yung pleasure center is via the dopaminergic pathway, di ba? And of course, the extrapyramidal syndrome. So, ano ang biological basis of schizophrenia? So, the mesolimbic dopamine system mediates the positive symptoms of psychosis. So, any excess dopamine in the mesolimbic area will cause the positive symptoms. And then, kung deficient naman, okay, deficiency of dopamine in the mesocortical system mediates the negative symptoms and cognitive symptoms of psychosis. So sabi nila sa schizophrenia, masyadong maraming dopamine sa mesolimbic area. Pero sa mesocortical area, kokonti ang dopamine. That is why merong mga negative symptoms and cognitive symptoms. Sa nigrostriatal system, ayan, madami na naman daw dyan, dopamine. And this is the one that is responsible for the extrapyramidal movement, no? And tardive dyskinesia, as seen in Parkinson's and in patients with psychosis. Doon naman sa tuberoinfundibular system, ang role ng dopamine is to control the plasma prolactin. So, sabi natin, sa mesolimbic dopamine, sabi natin, mataas ang dopamine. So, ano ang positive symptoms? Yan, meron silang thought disorder, kung ano-anong naiisip, may delusion, hallucination, paranoia. No? So, meron silang visual hallucination, but the most common is auditory hallucination. May mga bumubulong. Those are the positive symptoms. And again, the reason is excess dopamine in the mesolimbic area. Sabi natin, sa mesocortical, deficient ang dopamine. Kukunti daw ang dopamine. And that is the reason why patients have negative symptoms. Ano yung negative symptoms? Motivation, social withdrawal, hindi sila nakikihalubilo, flat ang affect. Sabi nila, masaya sila, pero wala naman. Wala. Pero masayang-masaya ako. Ganon. And then, poverty of speech. Diba yun silang sasalita masyado? Kausapin mo? Hindi ka kakausapin kasi may iba silang kausap. Yung ka-auditory hallucination nila. Diba? So, and then, sabi natin, excess dopamine in the nigrostriatal, the reason why they have those abnormal movements. Ganun lang kasimple, di ba? O ganun lang kasimple ang pathophysiology ng schizophrenia. Yun lang, ganun lang kasimple. Passive symptoms, excess dopamine, mesolimbic. Negative symptoms, deficient dopamine, mesocortical. Abnormal movement, excess dopamine, nigrostriatal. And then you have there the tuberoinfundibular. So, alam mo na, pathophysiology. So, anong gagamutin natin? Kasi sabihin natin, ano ba ang gusto nating mawala sa pasyenteng may psychosis? Siyempre, ayaw mo yung may auditory hallucination siya at saka visual hallucination. Kasi yung auditory hallucination, yun yung kumakausap doon sa pasyente, kaya buong gabi walang tulog. Di ba? At hindi nang magbubulong-bulong sa kanila. Bubulong-bulong at sasabihin, patayin mo yan. O kaya tumalong ka sa ganyan. O yun, yung auditory hallucination. So yun yung pinakamatindi. Yung negative symptoms, yung social withdrawal, flat affect, minsan, maganda sana kung maging sociable sila, pero minsan mahirap ma-address. Pero syempre, gusto mo ring ma-address yung excess, yung abnormal movements nila, no? So, kung pwede sanang mawala din yan. So, yun yung mga dapat nating isipin na particular parts ng brain. Parati niyong iisipin yon pagka nagbibigay kayo dito gamot para ma-imagine nyo yung effect. No? So, antipsychotics is divided into two. We have the typical and we have the atypical. Pag sinabi mong typical, conventional, ito yung mga first generation. Okay? These are what you call conventional antipsychotic. Ito yung mga una nang na-develop. Mostly, ang magkakaiba nila is their neurologic side effects. And most typical antipsychotics, they block D2. So, ang typical or conventional antipsychotic, they are antagonists, dopaminergic D2 receptor antagonists. So, whether it's mesolimbic, mesocortical, nigrostriatal, tuberoinfundibular, lahat ng dopaminergic receptors doon, ibablock niya. Okay? So, you can just imagine. So, when you block the D2 receptors in the mesolimbic area, sabi mo, sa mga schizo, maraming dopamine doon sa mesolimbic, kaya mayroong mga hallucination. So, if you block the D2 receptors there, ano mawawala? Mawala ang auditory hallucination, mawala yung kausap nila, no? Mawala yung mga bumubulong-bulong sa kanila, which is good. Pero blocking the D2 at the mesocortical would not benefit them at all. Magiging socially withdrawn pa rin sila, flat pa rin yung affect nila, tahimik pa rin sila, gano'n. Blocking the D2 at nigrostriatal, would that be benefit? At some point, no? Medyo mawala yung kanilang abnormal movement, but at the same time, pag masyadong mawala naman yung dito sa D2, blocking the D2 receptors at the nigrostriatal may also mean yung abnormal movements ng Parkinson's, di ba? And then blocking of the D2 receptors at the tuberoinfundibular area. So yun ang mga effects ng TB. So ganun pa lang, maisip mo pa lang yung adverse effect, maisip mo pa lang yung pathophysiology. Tapos naisip mo yung ano nangyayari sa dopamine doon. Tapos ibablock mo yung mga receptors doon. So alam mo na ano magiging effect, ano ang therapeutic effect. At doon mo na rin malalaman yung kanyang side effect. Di ba? O, ang dali-dali lang. Napakadali. Di ba? Napakadali ng topic na to. Then we go to atypical. Ang atypical antipsychotics, they are second generation. So ito mas bago. Mostly, ang kanyang side effect is metabolic rather than neurologic. And atypical antipsychotic affects not only dopaminergic receptors but also serotonergic receptors. Okay. So, punta muna tayo sa typical. Alam mo na kaagad ang mechanism of action na to, D2 receptor blockade. So, kahit ano pa dyan, isa ang effect niya. No? Iisa ang kanyang mechanism of action. So, there you have your chlorpromazine, haloperidol, loxamine, mesoridazine, pyridazine, trifluperazone, and palmazine. So, again, effect of mesolimbic, ito ang kanyang main antipsychotic effect. Blocking of dopamine receptor at the mesolimbic area, which will eventually reduce the positive symptoms. Sa mesocortical, it may worsen the negative symptoms. Kaya may tatawag tayong neuroleptic induced deficit syndrome. Kasi di ba sabi natin, sa mesocortical area, to begin with, patients with psychosis or schizophrenia would have reduced dopamine in this pathway. Ibablock mo pa yung D2 receptors dyan. Lalo na siyang nag-manifest ng negative and cognitive. So, nigrostriatal. So, there's disorders of movement. It's responsible for the disorders of movement. So, ibablock mo yung D2 mo. Wala yung dopamine effects. So, ibablock mo yung D2 receptors. Magkakaroon ka naman ng drug-induced Parkinson's. O or yung mga natawag nating extrapyramidal symptoms. So, ano yung mga extrapyramidal symptoms na yan? Meron siyang tardive dyskinesia, which may sometimes be irreversible. Pag nagkaroon na yan minsan, yung tardive dyskinesia na yan, minsan persistent na yan habang ang pasyente nagtitake ng gamot. Ano bang manifestation ng tardive dyskinesia? Yan, may facial and tongue movement. Kaya parang may constant chewing kahit wala namang chinuchew. Tongue protrusion kahit wala namang dinidilaan. May facial grimacing, kikindat-kindat, wala namang kinikindatan. Nakala mo lang may kinikindatan pero wala. Dahil yun sa effect ng gamot niya. Okay? So, this is an effect of long-term administration of conventional antipsychotics. So, for EPS, what do we do? For acute dystonia, which affects the muscle, usually it happens 4 hours after intake of this typical antipsychotic. The treatment there is antihistamine. Meron naman pangontra. Pwede nang bigyan ng Benadryl dyan, titigil na yung dystonia niya. Ano ang manifestation ng dystonia? Yung naapektuhan, even it affects mostly yung muscles doon sa speech, yung muscles sa tongue. Kaya hindi sila nakakapagsalita, pati yung facial muscles, no? Na parang ano tawag doon, yung naninigas. Kaya parang hindi sila nakakapagsalita. Ganito, i-google mo i-google nyo sa i-google mo yung manifestation ng acute dystonia para kasi mas maganda nakikita na? Ganun din yung akathisia. Usually akathisia occurs after 4 days of treatment, and akinesia, okay, it may take about 4 weeks after treatment bago mag-develop ng ganyan ng pasyente. Yan yung mga EPS. Ito yung acute dystonia Hindi ko napapaplay. Hanapin mo lang sa Google, kita mo yan. YouTube, hanapin mo. Yan yan. Yan ito yung Parkinson-like. Yan. Ito yung mga constant chewing, ganyan, tardive dyskinesia. Now, so blocking of D2 at the tuberoinfundibular pathway will cause hyperprolactinemia. Tataas ang prolactin. Kaya, pwedeng magkaroon ng galactorrhea. So, pwedeng magkaroon ng parang breast secretion. Kala mo, breast milk, no? Kala mo, breast milk. So, nagkakaroon ng gatas kahit hindi nanganak. Amenorrhea, nagkakaroon ng irregular menses. And there is rapid demineralization of bones in postmenopausal women and sexual dysfunction and weight gain. Those are, again, these are now what you call the adverse effects related to its mechanism of action. Now, ang pinaka-ayaw mo talagang adverse effect is the neuroleptic malignant syndrome. So it's manifested with confusion, very high-grade fever, agitation, extreme muscle rigidity, seizure, coma, and it is relatively fatal. It may cause death. Now, in case of neuroleptic malignant syndrome, the treatment would be dantrolene. You can also give dopamine agonist because after all, it's because of antagonism of dopamine receptor. So you give a dopamine agonist like other adverse effects would include anticholinergic or antimuscarinic effect like drying of the mouth, blurring of vision. So mapapansin nyo, yung ibang adverse effect niya ay para rin doon sa mga depression. Okay? Kaya kailangan na alam nyo para sa depression ba to o para sa psychosis. Babasahin na mabuti yung question sa exam. It also blocks alpha-1 receptor. O di ba parang TCA yan? Alpha blocking property that may cause orthostatic hypotension. Meron diyang antihistamine. So, di ba meron ka siyang H1 blocking effect, alpha-1 blocking effect, antimuscarinic, di ba? Ganito rin ang adverse effects ng TCA. Pero sa TCA, wala siyang neuroleptic malignant syndrome. Now, what are the typical antipsychotics? So, may mga pamilya yan based on their chemical structure. So, first we have the phenothiazines. So, phenothiazine with aliphatic side chain, that include chlorpromazine, triflupromazine. Low potency. Pag sinabi mong low potency, ibig ba sabihin nun, hindi siya effective? Ibig lamang sabihin ng low potency, kailangan ng mataas na dose, but they are also efficacious. Itagamit pa rin yung chlorpromazine yun. Mura nga yan eh. Now, phenothiazine with piperidine side chain, we also have pyridazine and mesoridazine. Ang kagandahan nito, mas mababa ang EPS niya because this group of drugs have anti-muscarinic effect. Tandaan nyo, sa typical antipsychotic, the higher the anti-muscarinic effect, the lower the EPS. Problema mo nga lang dito sa mga pyridazine na to ay it has cardiac depressant activity. Phenothiazine with pyrazine side chain, you have your fluphenazine, perfenazine, tylfluphenazine. These are weakly anti-muscarinic and therefore mataas yung risk ng EPS. It is less sedating and less autonomic. Again, ito ang isang table summarizing some of the characteristic properties of typical antipsychotics. So you see there, your chlorprom. So mapapansin nyo, no? The more anti-muscarinic effect, lesser EPS. Less muscarinic, greater EPS. So ito, yung haloperidol, mataas ang, itong haloperidol, ito yung sikat sa ating mga mental institution, lalo na sa government. Ito, haloperidol. Pero problema mo sa haloperidol, ito yung pinaka-notorious ng neuroleptic malignancy. Alam mo itong chlorpromazine. Itong pyridazine, it has the most, pyridazine and chlorpromazine, marami siyang alpha-blocking property. So, ano ibig sabihin nito? May anti-hypertensive effect, pero may hypotensive effect din siya. Pyridazine has cardiotoxic effect. It may cause it may cause torsades and retinal deposits. Now, the next chemical structure will be your thioxanthines. So you have thioxanthines with aliphatic side chain, you have your chlorprotixine, and those with piperazine side chain, ito clopentixol, cis-clopentixol, 5-fluticol, and thiotixine. At yung butyrophenones, isa lang naman sa grupo niya, which is haloperidol. Okay, so yun yung mga typical antipsychotics, conventional. They block mechanism of action, block D2 receptors. Then we go to atypical antipsychotics. Atypical antipsychotics have serotonin 2A, dopamine, blocking property. So, dalawa ang receptors na binablock niya. The serotonin 2A and dopamine 2 receptors. Okay? Ang typical antipsychotic, isa lang ang target niya, D2 receptor. Yun lang ang binablock niya. Now, because of the ability of a typical antipsychotic to block also serotonin 2A, aside from blocking dopamine 2 receptors, they have fewer EPS. And they also improve positive symptoms as well, katulad din ng typical antipsychotic. Kasi may D2 property siya. May D2 blocking property. So, dahil may D2 blocking property siya, mawala ang positive symptoms, di ba? Now, how does 5-HT2A receptor affects dopamine release? If we stimulate the serotonin 2A receptor, it inhibits dopamine release. Okay? So, activation of 5-HT2A inhibit dopamine release. Therefore, pag blinak mo tong receptor na to, if you block the 2A receptor, mapopromote ang dopamine release. So sabi mo, hi, ganun ang effect niya. It blocks D2, at the same time, it blocks 5-HT2A. Pag blinak ang 5-HT2A, dadami yung dopamine. Pero binablock ang D2 receptors. Ano ngayon ang magiging effect nito? Okay? Alright. So this is the crosstalk that happens with serotonin and dopamine. So you have there the 2A receptor at the dendritic area of the dopaminergic neuron and the 2A receptor at the axonal end. Activation of serotonin 2A receptor of the dendritic area, okay, would mean what? Pag ito ay inactivate, ano mangyayari? Inhibit dopamine release. Diba? At may inhibit yung dopamine release. Pero pag blinak mo yung serotonin 2A, no? Blinak mo tong serotonin 2A, blinak mo yan, ng gamot. Ano mangyayari? Mawawala yung inhibitory effect sa dopamine release. So, dadami si dopamine sa synapse. Dahil dadami yung dopamine dito sa synapse, anong mangyayari? Let's go back. Sabi natin, sa mesolimbic area, excess ang dopamine. Dahil itong atypical, may dito blocking property, walang problema. Kahit itaas niya pa yung dopamine uli, doon sa limbic area, ibablock naman niya ng D2. So, mawawala pa rin yung positive symptoms. Sa mesocortical area, ang sabi natin, konti doon ang dopamine. I-blinak ni D2, lalong nag-negative. However, meron ka ngayong serotonin 2A receptor blocker. Dadami naman ang dopamine. So, dun sa mga ibang receptors na natitira na hindi na-block, meron kang dopamine na mag-activate sa kanya. Kasi dadami na yung dopamine. And therefore, it may improve even the negative symptoms. Huh? Sa nigrostriatal, mag-i-improve yung manifestation. Malilesen ng EPS, malilesen ng tardive dyskinesia. So, the more serotonin receptors block, more dopamine will be released. There will be less negative symptoms. Diba? So, in the infundibular pathway, sabi natin, pag na-activate yung D2, ma-inhibit yung prolactin. Binigyan natin ng mga typical antipsychotic. Na-inhibit yung D2, tumaas ang prolactin. Diba? Pero, dito sa atypical, dahil meron siyang blockade ng 5-HT2A, okay, malulos yung serotonin control sa dopamine, dadami rin yung dopamine dito. At dahil madaming dopamine, yung ibang natitirang dito receptors na hindi na-block will inhibit prolactin. So, malilesen yung hyperprolactinemia. Huh? So, the prototype atypical is clozapine. Prototype atypical antipsychotic, this is the gold standard for efficacy in the management of schizophrenia. It has the greatest efficacy among all atypical antipsychotic, but it also has the most side effects. Sabi, so based on journals and textbooks, clozapine may cause awakening. Ano ibig sabihin ng awakening? Napanood nyo ba yung, ano ba yung movie na yun na, Beautiful, ano ba yung movie na yun? Beautiful Mind. Ano?
A Beautiful Mind po.
Oo, Beautiful Mind, di ba? Yung napaka-genius niya, napakagaling niya sa math, tapos meron siyang skits, tapos in the end, nagkaroon siya ng awakening, di ba? Parang gumaling siya. Yung natawag na awakening, bigla siyang nagising, tapos gumaling siya. Clozapine of all the antipsychotics has the greatest ability to reduce the risk of suicide. Kung hindi niyo pa nabipanood yung Beautiful Mind, maganda siya panoorin. Lalo na pag umuulan, tapos inaantok ka. Hindi, joke lang. Maganda siya. So, what are the adverse effects of clozapine? You have agranulocytosis. That's the reason why you have to monitor the blood count. And this is also the one that they do not want about clozapine because it makes the patient susceptible to a lot of infection. Doon sila mamamatay sa infection. Seizures. Also, clozapine may cause seizures, especially when it is given at high doses. Clozapine may cause sedation. That is not a problem. Okay lang yung makatulog naman sila. But it may also cause excessive salivation, and it also poses the greatest cardiometabolic risk. Ano ibig sabihin nun? So, Itong clozapine, it can cause weight gain, it increases your lipids, triglycerides, so yung risk ng hypertension, hypercholesterolemia, diabetes, nandoon. Kaya cardiometabolic risk. Pwede silang magkaroon ng metabolic syndrome. Now, another atypical is risperidone. Okay? Now, risperidone's effect depends on the dose. So, dose dependent siya. If you give it at lower dose, the therapeutic efficacy is the same as that of atypical. Meron siyang serotonin 2A blocking property. But if you give it at high doses, the therapeutic effect is more like more like typical sa antipsychotic, conventional. And so, EPS can occur and hyperprolactinemia may occur. Risperidone is also used for elderly patients with dementia. It is also being used for children and adolescents with psychosis. It's very effective in improving both the positive and negative symptoms. Kasi nga meron siyang 5-HT2A blocking property. Olanzapine is more potent than clozapine. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Ibig sabihin mas effective siya. Lower dose lang ang kailangan. It lacks EPS. It also lacks the extreme sedating properties of clozapine. But just like clozapine, it also is associated with cardiometabolic risk. It does not often raise the prolactin, very low incidence of tardive dyskinesia, highly effective for positive symptoms and negative symptoms, and it can also be used for treatment of bipolar disorders. It also improves the mood, not only in kids, but also in patients with manic depressive disorder. So, olanzapine may also be used as a first line for bipolar disorder. Kasi ang first line ng bipolar ngayon is lithium. But lithium has a lot of food-drug interaction. Kaya, yung lithium, we try to veer away from using the drug. However, lithium kasi mura. Kaya, ginagamit na rin siya. Pero ngayon, para sa mga magandang first line ang olanzapine because it's relatively safer than it. Then we have quetiapine. Quetiapine has no EPS, it has no prolactin elevation, and it can also be used for patients with Parkinson's who develop depression and psychosis, schizophrenia, and also bipolar disorders. Okay, so this is just a summary of the neurologic adverse effects, specifically of typical, di ba? Yung mga typical antipsychotic, sila maraming neurologic adverse effects. So you have there your acute dystonia, manifesting with muscle spasm, especially at the tongue, the face, the neck, the back, okay? And usually, the time of highest risk is 1 to 5 days after the start of treatment. The proposed mechanism is unknown, but the treatment you may give anti-Parkinsonian agent. Yes, are all diagnostic and curative, but you can also give Benadryl. Aripiprazole is also another atypical antipsychotic. D2 receptor, it has a D2 receptor partial blocking property. Partial lang siya partial blocker ng D2. In short, partial agonistic siya. And it has 5-HT1 partial agonistic property. Remember, pag partial agonist, partial antagonist siya. It has no 5-HT2A antagonistic property. So it reduces also EPS and hyperprolactinemia, may also be used for depression and bipolar. It has less weight gain and it does not cause increased lipids and triglycerides. Ay, sorry namali pala yung hindi ko napagsunod yung slides. So akathisia is another neurologic adverse effects of antipsychotic, usually happening 5 to 60 days after initiation of treatment. And the management is to give anti-Parkinsonian agent, benzodiazepines, or propranolol. Another adverse reaction would be specifically of typical Parkinsonism. So manifest with bradykinesia, rigidity, occurring 5 to 30 days after initiation of treatment, and it is brought about by dopamine antagonism. So treatment is, of course, anti-Parkinsonian. Then you have your neurologic malignant agent, syndrome, and the treatment would be dantrolene or bromelain. You may also give anti-Parkinsonian agents. Then for rapid syndrome, This is a late variant of Parkinsonism. Antiparkinsonian may help, but most of the time it persists. Tardive dyskinesia, ang pinaka-importante dito is prevention because once it happens, hindi na siya natatagal. So after months, years of treatment, it may even worse upon withdrawal of treatment. So it may be persistent. Okay? Now, antipsychotics may be in the form of oral, intramuscular, IV, and oral absorbable. One of the challenges in giving medications for schizophrenic patients is the compliance. Most patients, after they experience the adverse effects, especially of the typical antipsychotics or the conventional antipsychotic, they do not want to take it anymore. That is the reason why ang challenge mo, how do you give it? How do you give it not every day? Kasi compliance. So meron tinatawag na, merong mga drug na binibigay na XR, parang extended release. Meron yung bago na ini-inject, tapos ang effect niya good for 1 month na. So hindi mo na-issue yung compliance. Pero medyo mahal. Okay? So I think that ends my lecture. I will no longer include mood stabilizers. Kasi mostly mood stabilizers, yung sa mga bipolar ito, you can also use the same drug, the antidepressants, some antidepressant, and also some antipsychotics, the newer antipsychotics. Okay? So that ends my lecture.
Thank you, Doc.
Any more questions? If you have any questions?
Kasama po ba sa exam yung mood stabilizers?
Hindi na.
Thank you.
Discuss ko lang. Okay?
Thank you, Doc.
Okay. So, remember again tomorrow, have you seen the postings? So, meron na tayong dalawang, anong tawag dito? Dalawang chat, sa Telegram. So you have there's the SAPC for second year and we have the grievance. So dun sa, ang pagkakaiba lang kasi sa grievance, parang, kasi ginawa ko lang yung kahapon, di ba? Parang tayo-tayo lang yon. Dun sa SAPC kasi, nandun si Dean, nandun si Vice Dean, nandun din yung, I don't know, yung ibang chair ng department handling second year subjects. So, probably, kung halimbawa ang issue nyo ay departmental, halimbawa mo, problema nyo sa patho, you want to know kung yung exam nyo kahapon ay recorded or not, then you can ask that to the chair. So you can use the SAPC chat room in Telegram to ask for those questions. Kasi ano naman yun, pwedeng masagot na nung chair department. Pero kung halimbawa, issue lang natin sa second year, diba, general yun, pwedeng sa akin, okay? Kasi ang flow ng queries regarding policies, and of course, kung ano ka, meron kayong gustong hinaing na sabihin, and there's no specific department na necessary, but it's a general complaint of the batch, you can direct the question to me first. And if I cannot give you the exact answer, then we will ask the Vice Dean and Dean for their help. Okay? Ang sa akin lang ganito, mga friends, you know, everything comes from your thoughts. Okay? Your thought, kasi tandaan nyo, TEA. Your thoughts, your emotion, and your action. Yung thoughts nyo, it will guide the way you will feel. Yun ang nag-aano, di ba? Maisip mo lang minsan na yung, akala mo, di ba? Tumawag ka, tapos hindi sinagot ng boyfriend mo agad-agad, nag-isip ka na, di ba? Eh, nung inisip mo nang hindi maganda sa boyfriend mo, nagalit ka na agad, di ba? And that caused you to act, no? Improperly. Kaya gumawa ka ng bagay na hindi tama. Eh, yun ay guided dahil doon sa inisip mong masama. Kaya kumbaga, para maiwasan natin yung anxiety, over anxiety, let us try to calm ourselves by having good thoughts towards other people. Huwag yung purong parang pinahirapan kami. Wala nang ginawa, hindi pahirapan kami. Hindi kami pinakikinggan. Hindi ganoon. Isipin nyo rin, before we come up to a decision for certain policy, we have to meet first. At ang meeting, hindi katulad nung nandun pa tayong face-to-face. Hindi yung katulad niyang halimbawa mo, oh, tawag mo si Celia, andyan si Celia, o bababa na kaagad, andun na kaagad. Minsan, we have to, okay, mag-set muna tayo ng Zoom meeting. O, gano'n. O, anong oras? Gano'n. So, medyo may advantages, may disadvantages in technology. At lahat tayo nag-a-adjust. This is a new norm for all of us. So, huwag niyo parating iisipin, sabi ko nga doon sa inyo, you have, everything starts with good thoughts, okay? If you have bad thoughts, you will have negative emotion, and then your action would all be negative. But if you have good thoughts, no? And besides, if there is one thing that you have an issue or you have a problem that you cannot solve, na ang tingin mo ang solusyon, hindi ikaw ang makakapag-solusyon, what do you do? Magtatawag ka ba ng ibang tao para yung problema nyo, pare-pareho kayo, ganyan, tapos wala naman kayo magawa, tapos pare-pareho kayo nag-negative thoughts. Kaya negative ang reactions nyo lahat. Kaya ang actions nyo, negative lahat. Ay, mag-LOA na kaming lahat. Tama ba yun? That is the reason why when you make a decision, it should never be based on your emotion. Do not make any decision when you are too happy, nor when you are too sad or too angry. Dapat, pag magdi-decide ka, kalmado na. Tingnan mong lahat muna yung anggulo. Huwag magmamadali. Alam mo, kami hindi lang sa department, pati yung collegial ang mga decisions. Hindi po pwedeng itong gagawin ni ganito, itong gagawin ni ganito. Of course, meron kaming sarili na for department. Sa department ko ganito, sa department nila gano'n. Yun departmental. Pero when it comes to general, like for example, coming up with policies for examination, pabago-bago itong mga isip na to, pabago-bago itong mga doktor na to, bakit kayo ba hindi kayo pabago-bago? Kasi bago to sa atin. Yung mga problema arises as we go on. Nung unang nagbigay kami ng exam, BCA, sa 4th year, wala kaming kaalam-alam. Napaka-inosente namin na pwede pala sila magkopyahan at magkaroon sila ng Zoom party. Pwede pala nalang picturean yung question, i-show doon sa kabila at magbigay ng answer. Pwede palang ganun. Nung una, inosente kami sa ganun. Kaya, okay, walang kopyahan. Di guys, sa 3rd year, wala palang problema. Kasi ang issue lang namin noon, ma-access ba ng mga estudyante? Magkakaproblema ba sila pagka Yun ang palaging ini-issue. Baka mamaya hindi nila baka hindi nila ma-access. Kasi nahihirapan yung kanila Awang-awa naman kami doon sa ganun. And make sure that those students who really have difficulty in connectivity, we consider you first. Ngayon, however, there are issues that arose as we go on with this type of examinations. And then we learned na, pwede pala yung gano'n. Pwede palang habang nag-i-exam ako, meron akong maliit na dito at meron akong kachika, ano nga ba yung Pwede palang magtanong ng gano'n. At dahil hindi naman ako nakikita, wala namang Zoom, pwede palang may notes ako dito sa tabi habang nag-i-exam. Hindi ba pwedeng gano'n? Di ba, So, that gives a lot of ways for cheating, which you cannot do on face-to-face. Kaya yung sinasabi nga namin na examination online as a means to assess knowledge, hindi siya ganun ka-reliable. That is the reason why, siguro pinakita na sa inyo ni Dr. Dueñas, yung bago naming we revise the grading system in pharmacology. First prelim, second prelim, finals, lab, shifting, pare-pareho na 15%. binigyan na yung manual, 5%. Okay na yun. Basta nagkaroon ng manual, hindi na-checkan ng iba, okay na yun. 5% na yun. Bigay na natin yun. O, di ba? Project. O, sige, submit mo na ang project. O, checkan na natin. O, di ba? Do not make things difficult for you. Tandaan niyo yan. Magulang din kami. Okay? So, alam namin yung difficulties nyo. So much so, for those of you who have parents who are working here, nakikita nyo sana yung hirap din nila. Diba? Dapat naiintindihan nyo din. Marami kaming ginagawa. Hindi sa wala kaming ginagawa. Hindi nyo lang kasi alam. Hindi nyo lang kasi alam. At nagmamadali kayo sa resulta. We are taking things in stride and we're trying to really grasp all of this in the same manner na nag-grasp nyo. Right? Kung nalilito kayo, kami rin, no? Nabobonggahan kami sa mga pwede pala nilang gawin when they're taking online examination. I'm not saying everyone does that, but most of you does. But some of you do. Hindi mo yun may pagkakaila. Diba? Kasi pag face-to-face, no notes. Ikaw lang nakaupo. Kitang-kita mo talaga. Ikaw lang yun. Pero, dito, pwede nga dyan ang notes mo. Pwede meron ka pa dyan isang iPad. Dala-dalawang gadget mo para madaling mag-browse. Diba? Kaya ganon. Kaya ganon ang nangyayari. No? So, marami ring mga estudyante na nag-message kay Dean. At nagsasabi ni mga classmate niya, ganito ginagawa. Okay, kaya ganon. No? Sasabihin mo, hindi naman ako gumagawa nun eh. Naman magagawa na. Alam nga namang yung rule nila, iba sa iyo, iba sa kanila. Hindi. We set rules for everyone. Diba? Remember, ganito rin naman yan eh. Examination is just an instrument to assess your knowledge. But ikaw lang ang nakakakilala sa sarili mo. Hindi ka rin namin kilala personally. If you are honest, well and good. If you are those who are dishonest, eventually, it will catch up to you. Oo. Nahihirapan ka, hindi ka lang nag-iisa. Marami tayo. Ha? So, yun lang ang sinasabi ko sa inyo, have an open mind. Have an open mind. I'm sorry if I was not there to talk to you personally. Kasi I think first year had their town hall meeting with Dr. Bringas as a SAPSI coordinator. Yung third year, I think Dr. Lumangit talked to them. And yung second year was left behind. So hindi ko yun alam kasi hindi ko naman, well, I thought the Telegram was used only for issues during model examination. Hindi ko alam na doon pala yung mga issues ng second year. So, hindi naman nakarating sa akin specific issues ng second year kasi based sa aming meeting, pinakamadami daw palang problema at issues sa mga second year na hindi naman ko nalaman. So, hopefully tomorrow during our dialogue with the Dean and Vice Dean, you'd be able to air out your issues. Ganito, yung issues nyo, huwag generalize. Kung halimbawa, ikaw lang yun, ikaw lang yun. Kaya, kung talagang marami kayo, mag-agreehan kayong lahat. Kami po sa ganitong lahat, yun ang sasabihin nyo. Ha? And also, please still try to be respectful. Okay? We are rational people. We talk only one language or two languages, English, Tagalog. So, pwede nating pag-usapan yun na hindi naman tayo kailangang mag-away-away. Iisa lang naman tayo, FEU lang naman tayo. Kami teachers ninyo. So, we help you learn. Hindi kami kaaway. Sabi ko nga, kung hindi naman kami nandito para ibagsak kayo eh. Gusto ba namin na walang maging doktor? Kaya nga kami nandito kasi we want more doctors. Lalo na sa panahon ngayon. Diba? We want more doctors. But we want doctors with integrity. And those who really are persevere Eh, hindi yung kunting hirap. Ngak, reklamo, garger. Oh, hindi ganun. Magiging doktor, long suffering yan. Ha? Mahaba pa ang inyong pagdadaanan. And I think your generation would even be harder. That's why you have to brace yourself. You have to learn to adapt. And if you're not ready, ask yourself, is this for me? Akin ba talaga to? Pero kung ito talaga yung long time dream mo, ito talaga yung gusto mong maging, rest assured that we are helping you all. We are not here to delay you. Huh? We are not here to delay you. We want you to become doctor and achieve your dreams one day. Sama-sama tayo. Sabi ko nga, your success is also our success. Okay? So, pagka meron kayong mga negative issue, huwag mag-snowball. Oo nga, ganito. O, damihan na ng ganun. O kaya tapos sabi, okay na tayo lahat. O, tama ba yun? Ilang taon na ba kayo? 20, ilan na kayo? Ano kaya? 12 years old? 13 years old ba kayo? 14, 15, ganon? Kasi nasa second decade na kayo. Some of you are going to the third decade of life. To learn to be more mature. Yeah? So I hope to see you all tomorrow, 5 o'clock, okay, sa Zoom. Please be respectful whenever you air out your issues. We will hear you. Okay? So,
Okay po. Thank you po, Doc.
Yes, Doc.
sige.
Thank
Okay.
you po, Doc.
Thank you po.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye po.